Shalom, shalom, peace. Hopefully all is well. Hopefully all is well with everyone on here. I think we got everything just about ready to go as best as we can have it. So, what we have, prayerfully everybody can see and hear me all right. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in the cup of sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message, Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste, Osaya de Kituya, Ohio, I see you, Manut, Wagwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida, Aloha, Onson, Habaragani, Akwaba, Madasi, Itasin. Jambo, Bimini Kofi, the Franco Katana and the women, Boker To, Boker Ta, Grand Riding, Grand Rising. Greetings, peace to everybody, Shalom, peace to each and every one of you. Peace may you have as you enter in, and peace may you have as you leave. Hello everybody, I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. Appreciate you all. Thank you everybody for the happy anniversary messages. I tried to get to as many as possible. I also apologize we weren't able to come on yesterday. We just had signal issues, so I do apologize for that. Prayerfully, we'll be able to make up for anything that we ended up losing. We pretty much got everything in except for ministerial prayer. I'm not sure if you guys were able to use a different platform. I wasn't able to get any signal for you guys, so you guys can start up. But prayerfully, you guys are doing well. We're thankful and grateful for everybody who's coming on over from Early Rise of Bible Study Session, ERBS. Early Rise of Bible Study Session with Minister Samaya LeRae. Excellent message, referring back to something that was at least once a staple with some persons that were at SOC, the heart posture, and speaking on that and speaking on where we need to be. After, I believe last week, she gave a message about the door, the dalit, and going through the door. So we're thankful and grateful to the Most High Yah for her willing to be used, for her obedience, for that word that actually gets us ready for today. And we're going to get ready to jump in. So we're going to be going to Barashayat, Mem, Zion, Genesis 47. So once you have it, say amen, say I got it, say I'm with you, say I'm listening. Thank you for joining us, by the way, for joining us via podcast, later on different platforms, but right now if you're on via podcast, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, we're thankful and we're grateful and we're appreciative of everybody for being on with us. And prayerfully today's message goes a long way in helping you and furthering you upon your journey. We're getting closer to the end of Genesis chapter 50, which is, we've been doing this series in Genesis about a shot since February the 7th. So we're getting closer and closer to doing our final parts of this series. Meanwhile, to let everybody know, we were supposed to start VBS tonight. As of basically this weekend, and having a chance to chill out, relax some, and do some things, I also had a couple issues that popped up and showed that personally, I am not ready with some things that are going on. I personally need a couple days at least to get some things done, and having the extra VBS is going to be way too much for me, just being honest. Also too, I was told by family that I trust, all of them, who said so, and some of you who've been saying so for a little bit, then I might be a little tired and seem to be off. It definitely showed some ways and some weird ways as far as health, and so to just make sure that I'm okay, I think I'm all right, but just to make sure, we're gonna delay. So we still are in need, by the way, for those who are helping us out with the children. If you'd like to, for the $50 donation per child, and we'll be sending out some information still this week, but we will be delaying VBS until next week. Every evening at 6 p.m. New York time, we'll have the babies will have their session, and every evening following that on the same Zoom link, the adults will have their session at 7 p.m. New York time, and then the children and the adults we'll come back real quick on the same thing next week at 8 p.m. New York time. So it won't be this week. We're moving it back a week, to be honest with you, just to make sure that my health is in a better place, and to make sure that I'm not rushing and doing something. By the way, I apologize. I have the air conditioning on in here. I don't always do it because it's extremely loud. That being said, I have the air conditioning on right now. If it's too loud, let me know. Obviously on the podcast, I guess you'll let me know later. But if it's too loud on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, let me know. But right now, we're just going to turn it, keep it up a little bit, at least for a little bit, to allow this place to cool down. If it becomes problematic, let me know. But I think we'll be all right. You guys told me before. It doesn't get in the way of you hearing. That's the main thing. Thank you again to Minister Samantha Ray for an excellent message. Praise y'all. We're talking about the dollar before, and then today talking about the heart. Praise y'all. Alrighty. So hopefully everybody is ready. Tada, thank you so much. So if you're able to stand to your feet and reverence the word of Yahweh, or however you're able to do so, we thank you for doing so in this moment. We'll get ready to say our Bible pledge in just a little bit as you're rising to your feet. If you're able, if you're not, however you can reference. Let's say shalom to everybody while we're rising. And once you have to say amen, say I got us, I'm with you, listening, etc. How's everybody doing? Thank you. Brother Dwayne already on it. I guess John Jones, whoever that was going crazy. How you doing, Minister Samantha Ray? How you doing, Brother Keith? Lauren, if I missed anybody else, please forgive me on YouTube. If I missed anybody else who was on, I apologize. It won't let me go back so much. To those who are on, thank you so much. I messed y'all up. Okay. Alrighty, how you doing? Everybody on Facebook, YouTube, podcast, other platforms later on. How you doing, Sister Deborah? Brother Darius, King Malachiach, or Malachiach, not sure what dialect it is. How you doing? Is it Bang Out? Big Brother Charles, double OG, triple OG. How you doing? How you doing, George? Turling, Fat Nuu, V-Mac, Joe Nald? Is it? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Lil J. Anybody on all platforms, thank you so much. Natalie, Izzy, Kathy, Cha-Cha, Dinah, this is Monica, Laika, Truth Be Told, Jerome's Into, Big Ralph, user 210349, etc. Denisha, Joseph, Nelson, Big Brother Thomas. If I miss anybody on any of the platforms, once again, church, to my head, not to my heart, we're thankful and grateful to have each and every one of you with us on today. I see Hot Dog, everybody. I think I said Sister Deborah, so Uncle Poon or Uncle Pony, Christy, D-Money, Lottie, Diane, everybody. Thank you for being on. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's dynamic message. It's been a while. That anniversary, I took off Friday. And belated Shabbat Shalom for those who use Friday. That's your Shabbat. Took off Friday, and then couldn't get on Sunday. So it's been a minute. So prayerfully we're ready to go. I know I'm ready to go. Prayerfully this word reaches you well. How you doing, Matty Groove? Alrighty, let's go ahead. You can just repeat after me. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yechavach, Aman, which is Yechavah Shem, his name is authority. Let it be done unto us. You may be seated or go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High. Yeah. Aman, and Aman again. Alrighty, so how is everybody doing? Hopefully everybody's doing well. You may be seated. Thank you again. Appreciate you. So today we're going to talk about Genesis 47. That's going to be our focal chapter. Once again, as a reminder, just want to give a reminder about all the different stuff that's going on. You'll see the schedule for the week, as has been our custom now for a little bit. On Mondays, right after the live session, we ask you to give us a couple hours or so to get your stuff up. But you'll see on the Google Calendar invite the schedule, and then you'll see us posted throughout tomorrow and Wednesday. You should see the entirety of the schedule if you haven't seen it by then, but you should see it on Google Calendar invite. Also want to remind folk that for us it's not just virtual, it's reality. So we believe in supporting each other, including our diaspora, including our businesses that we have. Brother Jermaine, please check out his stuff. He's got anything from sweatshirts to all types of stuff, sweatshirts to t-shirts to obviously has stuff with the tassels, a lot of different things. So if you dig what I'm wearing, feel free. He's got stuff for hashtag SOC University, of course, which is on Patreon and stuff as well. This is Brother Dwayne. I'll be putting this on a little bit. Brother Dwayne made this for myself, and I showed you guys some of the stuff like what he made for my wife. So if you'd like to support him and what he does and his endeavors, this is something that's a one of one that he made just for me. So I appreciate you, Brother Dwayne, so very much. Also, too, I want to talk about Sister Greta, who's going to be helping us with the children this year, making some stuff for our children. So, if especially you parents, if you like some of the stuff she's making, but this is something that she made for me. This is a bracelet. I don't have my rope on right now, but this is a bracelet that she made for me, Olive Tav. Right. So, if you're interested, just a few things. We have so many different stuff. I'm gonna miss if I try to tell everybody what everybody's doing on here. Of course, don't forget Bloom and Flourish, Elder Alma, and what she has for the community, right? And telling stuff for natural medicine. We even have Brother Jacob, who's actually kind of got his own thing going, but at the same time still sits under me to a certain degree. So sent me some stuff that wanted to make sure. I've actually had this for a little while now, but I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you guys, showed it to you. We got Brother Jacob on here doing some stuff, how to heal, the Bible health book, all different types of stuff or whatever. And we have done a lot of partnering with him throughout the years. He's been on our men's meeting and stuff faithfully and stuff as well. He has stuff like, even instead of having regular milk, has some things where he tells brothers to be about goat milk instead, which has a lot of stuff, proves to reverse brain fog, depression, menstrual issues, iron deficiency, magnesium deficiency, autistic issues, cancers, etc. You can find him at jacobslink.com, by the way. Jacobslink, JOCBS link, LINK.com. Let's see what else we got in this care package. Beef liver. If you're somebody into that, this is to help as far as multivitamins. Nature's multivitamin supports blood and hemoglobin, supports liver energy if you're having issues with that. Has a keychain, I guess. I didn't realize. It got a keychain. Organic sea salt, right? So if you're looking for sea salt, things of that nature. Just some really nice stuff. So wanted to make sure that he was willing to be a blessing and does a lot of things to bless us behind the scenes. Frankincense gum. So Jacob, we appreciate you. Now that I've shown it, I can finally start using it. But I wanted to make sure that first things first, I at least showed it in the packaging. And once again, interestingly, it has the book that goes with a lot of this stuff to show you how the stuff works. A lot of Bible verses, a lot of stuff he's very well, at least for me, very well known for writing down a whole bunch of notes and things of that nature. So not only do they have stuff typed up, you also can see where he has different things, pictures and different things like that, where he got certain things from, all different stuff. So very excited and thankful to Brother Jacob and helping me as I'm trying to get better with my health journey. So if you are looking for something like that, he's another person that we have, but also somebody who does a lot of teaching. TikTok, IG, I'm assuming probably really big on YouTube, but I know on TikTok and IG, he's got really, really big, and we're thankful and grateful that he still finds time to come down and mingle with the commoners. No, but he makes time out to make sure that he lifts up what y'all's doing here. How you doing, Prophet Yomi? So another person you can go and partner and do some stuff with them from time to time. Hopefully we'll have him back on sometime in the future, but has allowed me to be able to speak on this platform multiple times and has invited us to come over his community, so we're thankful for him being on. You said pastor of who? Who, me? Who am I a pastor of? I'm a pastor of a group called Servants of Christ. Lawful and legal, according to guidelines by, what the corporation we live in the United States, but more than that, something that's holy and somebody who uplifts the actual word of Yah. And other than that, if you'd like to actually sit down and listen to what we're talking about before you make any stuff, sure. If not, at home, it just shows that you're not worthy of being on, and we'll just go ahead and let you go early if you need to be. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the word. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? We were promoting the shirt, so prayerfully we'll get some stuff. You said they banned your TikTok page. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know why they banned it. Maybe we had a conversation offline about it and see what's going on. Well, thankful to have you on. And prayerfully, I guess you have to. Oh, damn. You got to get your numbers back up, I guess, for the live sessions. So praying for you. They did the same thing to us several times. So just to let you know, Prophet, that you can make it back and stuff like that. But yeah, it messes with you a little bit for sure. But I'm praying for you that you're able to land on your feet. And I guess if we can support anything that is going on or whatever, try to let me know in advance, I guess, and we'll try to do our best to help out as best we can. That's right, kingdom sense, not common sense. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get into the word for today. So Genesis 47 is where we're at. We already did the Bible pledge. And to the SOC fam, for all the stuff that you do, including stuff that wasn't even mentioned today. We talked about Sister Beverly Moore as well. We talked about, Rudy Charlie. I'm not sure, what his extent he is with this, but still, has product and stuff. I know many of you support. Feel free to do that. But just, we're thankful and grateful for everybody with their gifts, their talents, effort, energy. Once again, Minister Samantha Ray with the word for today. That was necessary. Appreciate it. And we really need to hear that today. How you doing, Miss Ladybug? Brother Rodney. Alrighty. So today in Genesis 47. Our focus today is going to be one to where we're looking at how Kemet came into power. So once again, we've been doing this series since February 7th. We've been talking about Joseph for a few weeks now. We've been talking about, obviously, Israel, and before he was Israel, who was Jacob, and wrestling. We talked about even the children's names by this point, as far as the 12 sons of Israel. We also talked about his daughter, and we also talked about his 2 grandsons through Joseph. And we'll be talking about more about it in our VBS. Once again, our VBS, we had to delay it for about a week. So we will be, back with you guys. We did have to delay VBS for a week, just because of health for me. I'll just wrap it up and just say, for health concerns or possible health concerns, we're going to make sure that everything's together so that I'm not kind of overdoing it this week with some bad symptoms that I'm carrying. That show that I need some rest. How you doing, Wabon, Audrey? How you doing, Guess Who? So we'll try to make more, put more out about that. Children should get some more stuff. By the way, that gives us more time if you'd like to be able to be one of the persons to help us with having donations together for the children to sponsor a child. That means you got extra time. That means also the stuff we're making by hand for the children. We got extra time, so we got a lot of stuff going. All right, praise Yah. But we're in chapter 47, and we talked about these names, which we'll be using for VBS to really go deeper into. Chapter 47 of Genesis, Barashayat, Mem, Zion, or chapter 47 of Genesis, has us in a position that's very interesting because it shows us how Kemet became Kemet, how Kemet grew, how Kemet was made. And we've been talking a lot about the modern Kemet, the United States Corporation, who's part of that same Daniel type of, or Daniel chapter 2 type of statue, who's part of those 10 horns on the 7-headed beast, and has a spirit, and we forget, if we're not careful, the relationship that we have with Kemet, which is why a lot of us, go to the E1B1B instead of the E1B1A, or in other words, we look at Kemet before we look at ourselves as Israel, right? And so a lot of the stuff that's going on with Kemet, Dinah. Matter of fact, I've been praying for you. I meant to reach out, but been busy, and we had our anniversary on top of that. But been praying for you. I know you haven't been feeling the best, so been praying for you, and I know how faithful you are, and I appreciate your heart more than I can express. Maybe but more than my mortal shell is able to express at times. I feel like that about many of us. Love y'all, and I wish I was more than human sometimes, because I know I'm a spirit and stuff, but I'm just saying I wish I was more than the human man at times, because then I'd be able to actually show the love that you deserve. But we praise God that even though I'm only but who I am, the one who is truly everything, however he loves us in ways and places that I cannot. Praise God. So going into today, we're talking about how Kemet grew. And I never saw this until preparing. And I'm glad, because in a sense, I wanted to be on real bad yesterday, of course. But I'm glad, in a sense, that I didn't get it, because I really probably wouldn't have received what I received for today had I not had an extra day to really study. How you doing, Miss Q? So, I'm on. We're still in the fight. So I'm glad that I got a little extra for today. I'm praying that I say this the way they say, because it's really going to mess with. It's going to mess with a little bit with some of our theology. However, it's nice that the gift that's on the inside gets stirred up. So there's been something simmering there, but it's been almost to a place where if we're not careful, it might have been burning a little bit. It's time to make sure that we stir just a little bit more, right? How you doing, Brother Dwayne? So, and by the way, I didn't mention, make sure besides, copping one of his bracelets, one of his designs and stuff, also please, man, please, sir, make it a point to check out Brother Dwayne on his live sessions or on TikTok, whatever the case might be. A lot of great stuff going on in there. As long as you come in ready to listen and to learn and to respect culture, etc., you shouldn't have any issue on his platform or with his platform. Alrighty, but let's get into this today. So it's very important, it's very vital for us to get into this position where we recognize and we realize who Yah is. Right? How you doing, Shalom? Recognize and realize who the Most High Yahweh is, and how He is the reason that Kemet grew in the first place. Yet Kemet forgot who the Most High was, right? And so, right, the Kemet never really cared at first who he was, but they realized the power that he had, and they realized that his servants were on point, and so they used the servants of the Most High. They used Israel, right? Even though they really have more connection with Ishmael, they have more connection with Esau, right? But at the same time, they used what Israel brought to the table and was able to help to build a foundation and to get to a place to where famine didn't take a hold of anybody and that everybody had a chance to live, right? How you doing, D Busy, the producer? So in this, it's very important that we catch that we see what's going on with that, because now we're talking about a modern Kemet or a modern Egypt. How did it grow? Well, it grew by the Negro that was here prior to chattel slavery, getting here, or prior to Europe, the Negro that was here, the Negro that is mixed in with the Native Americans, some of us that aren't even Negro but are Native American but are grafted in as well. Regardless of which way you want to look at it, you'll see the same similarities, right? Just like we know that just as in the days of Noah, there's things going on today, or just like in the days of Moses, there's things going on today, right? And really, this is before Moses, just like in the days of Joseph. Things are going on today. How you doing, babe? My wife is on the Alma. Once again, check out her product at Bloom and Flourish. You can also find her on TikTok at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. You can email her at bloomandflourish1@gmail.com. You can look at her website at bloomandflourish.com for products and stuff like that for its natural healing. And you can also look for her on YouTube at Bloom Flourish. I apologize, I keep forgetting to memorize the numbers. Bloom, Flourish. And if you need more information, let us know. We'll get you the link. Alrighty. But yeah, so there's something interesting going on here. So remember in chapter 46, Yehadasha'al has been invited by Yasav or Yasav or Joseph. Joseph has invited Israel and his family, his father and his brothers and everybody to come on over. And he told them, when you come over, make it a point to tell Pharaoh. This is what he said. He said, when you come over, he said, make it a point to tell Pharaoh the truth, that we are shepherds, because they dislike shepherds and they dislike Israelites, right? However, it's an Israelite who is also raised as a shepherd, right, who is the one who's keeping Kemet afloat and is second in command only when Pharaoh's not there, meaning that he basically is running Kemet on behalf of the Pharaoh. How you doing, Brother Javon? Right, and thank everybody once again for all the happy anniversary love and all the different places. I saw most of it on Facebook, but even those who sent text messages, things of that nature, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So, getting back into, I'm sorry, love you all. It's been a minute since I've been around. Let me get back into it. It says someone on. Oh, okay. All right, so you can look for Bloom and Flourish 5834. Bloom and Flourish, BLOOM, the letter N, FLOURISH 5834, 5834, if you're looking for Bloom and Flourish on YouTube. All right, so we have a lot of stuff that's going on like it used to in ancient times, and now we're seeing the same thing happen today. Nothing new under the sun, right? The SUN, or even if you want to say nothing new under the sun, since Yehoshua has been around since the foundation of the world, since Barashayat, nothing new, right? The devil, the enemy, that slewfoot, the serpent, Atatan, the Satan, etc. He is playing the same game, and we've been given the same word, but for whatever reason, we're trying our best to do everything except, right? How you doing, Sister Mignon? So we're dealing with the same system, the same systemic attack, the same systematic attack, right? And so we have to learn this. So Joseph, right, is running Kemet, just as the Negro, and if you don't know the Negro, according to law, the Negro, right, according to, let's go back to the 1300s, 1400s even, of Portugal. Let's also look at the Spanish Inquisition, which was against the Negro, was against the swarthy Jew, right? Not the Khazarian, right? And not the Ashkenazi, but the swarthy, right? So-called Jew, or the swarthy Israelite. How you doing? ¿Cómo estás, mi hermana Sherry? Gracias por tu presencia. So you have the swarthy, you have the swarthy, which means what? Dark-skinned Israelite, and the Israelite who was known back then for wearing a hoodie, putting poetry out, putting the poetry over music on street corners, had locks, was very much so into women, which is code for they didn't switch up, they weren't DL, you know, different things that they were strong with. They were into the Tanakh, or the Torah, into the guide that we still live our lives by today, the guide, not the God, but the guide that we live our life today. How you doing, anointed Ruach, right? So these are the things that we see, and the Negro, who is the Israelite, that's what the term Negro meant, was Israelite. This is why the Portuguese and the Spanish, when they went looking for slaves, they made slaves of Negroes, and then they said they went to Africa looking for Negroes first, and then started looking for Negroes and Africans, and then once they found that there weren't as many Negroes left, or it was hard to get to the Negro, they started going and looking for Africans first. It's always Africans, as far as their primary source of chattel slavery, right? And then they started searching, when they're searching for other places. Remember, Christopher Columbus said that he went looking, and he took a Negro or a Israelite interpreter with him, because he was looking for the land that's set in what, second, I'm about to say the wrong place, not Second Maccabees. Oh wow. Chapter, oh wow, I'm even having a problem using another chapter and verse. Chapter 13, verses 40 through 45. Not Second Maccabees, not first, oh, might be. Yes, that's it. Not Second Ezra. You're on Esdras. Thank you. The Second Esdras, chapter 13, verses 40 through 45. Right, and look there. You'll see that Israelites were already spread, and that the northern kingdom, so-called northern kingdom, had already left, right, and dispersed, and was therefore looking for other opportunities, and was looking for opportunity to worship Yah and to be in a place to where they were uninhibited by the worship of others. And if you recall, when we talked about this, what was the thing that Moses was sent for first? He wasn't sent at first to Pharaoh to say, release Israel. At first he was sent by Pharaoh to say, Pharaoh, let my people go 3 days journey to worship me for a couple of weeks. And how you doing, beloved Yahweh? Thank you for being on with us. So remember, that's what Moses was sent initially for, Moshe, however you want to pronounce, dialect-wise. He was sent into Kemet first to say, let my people worship me, right? Before you let the people go physically, really they should be let go spiritually. They should be let go of a mindset. Many of us carry a mindset that's not of Israel. Even when we're doing our best to bring Israel back, when we're saying we're on our Ezekiel 37 grind to ensure that everybody can be able to be these dry bones that are revived and that live again and to become the armies of the Most High God. Praise Yah. How you doing? Bless Jewel. Right? And thanks, babe, for putting that in there. But we forget. You said you wonder if you believe in segregation now of Yah. Well, his word calls for segregation as far as we're supposed to be separate from those who don't believe. So when we come back together, our goal is not to come back together and make sure we're under another umbrella. So in that sense, if you want to call it segregation, you could, right? By the way, I've said I stand 10 toes down on this. I've been led by the Hakudash over and over and over again just to give a reality as well, that the best that our diaspora has ever been doing has only been either when we've been separate because we've been a different nation, or when we've been separate because we were segregated. Even if you stay in the so-called United States of America, the United States Corporation, right, 28 USC 300215 subsection A, the United States is a corporation, not a country. But that being said, for those who believe it's a country or corporation, whatever, if you look even in the history of our people here, whether you're talking about Native, whether you're talking about FBA, whether you're talking about African American, whether you're talking about African who's in America, or those who don't think there's such thing as black, those who are blacker than black, whatever. If you look at your people and the best they've done, it's always been when they've been segregated or separate. So we're called to separate. So when we come back, those who are grafted in too, if you're going to be part of us, but especially those of us who are not only by blood, but then on top of that, we're going to put law in place and make sure we follow the word and make sure that we're getting the blessings that we deserve out of the birthright that we hold. Well, if that's what we're doing, you got to recognize those things aren't coming because we're going to stay integrated. Those things are coming because we're going to do what the word says, which is be separate, to come out of her, right? To come out of her, right? I'm not sure if that's Minister Elishua, but I see an Elishua on here. Welcome, right? So it's important that we say, that we realize that we're coming out of the world, right? And so just back then, right, I need you to comprehend something. See, how did Kemet even become powerful? Kemet became powerful because of Israel. Kemet became powerful because of Joseph. Kemet became powerful because, remember, favor follows obedience. And Joseph has been obedient, and favor has followed him every step along the way. You guys recall this? Once again, some of you might only be joining us for the first time today, or you've only been with us recently. We've been doing this series since February 7th. We have it all recorded on YouTube, a lot of it on Facebook, a lot of it on our podcast. But you got to recognize that favor follows obedience. And so Joseph has been obedient, even though when he was taken, and even by his own people, he was put into the pit. He still was obedient when he went into Potiphar's house, and he was obedient to who he was. And he was then put into prison. He was obedient, became second in command of the prison, still obedient to the point to where he shows the baker and the butler what's going to happen to him. The butler goes back, and the butler takes 2 years, but then eventually is obedient and says, oh yeah, there is a man that can answer your dream, Pharaoh. And Pharaoh sees his obedience and sees the favor that's on his life and says, who else can we find who is like Elohim? Recall, Pharaoh would have known who Elohim, or who we call, some of you call Elohim, but he would have known that Elohim was powerful in who he was because Pharaohs had dealings with Abraham, and Pharaohs also had dealings with Isaac. We know this to be true, right? So if this is the truth, then this means that when he says, remember Joseph, Joseph, he made the point to say, hey, when you get up there, tell him that there's a Hebrew down here. And when he gets up to see Pharaoh, he tells him, Pharaoh says, I don't know how you think you're going to solve all these problems we got going on, or how you're going to get my dream. I got these magi, I got these priests. And he says, look, Joseph says, all due respect to your priests, Pharaoh, but I'm coming to you with the word of Yah and Elohim. Well, he would have said, I'm coming to you with Elohim Shaddai, right? Elohim is going to provide. And so you don't have to worry about that. So Pharaoh knew who he was, knew who Elohim was, and then once Elohim clearly used a servant to answer this dream, he makes him second in command of all of Kemet. It is having Elohim take the wheel, so to speak, that allows Kemet to grow. And thank you all for sharing the live. Thank you for any likes, shares, subscriptions, hitting the notification tab. Those who donate all types of stuff behind the scenes, including time, talent, effort, energy, and yes, even money to help us financially make sure that we do things that we're supposed to do around the world. We appreciate you, right? So he sees all these different things, and you gotta realize Yah's will, even when we come to Kemet, is for us to have separate place. Remember, they were told by Joseph. Joseph tells his family, he says, hey guys, Make sure you tell Pharaoh that you're shepherds. He knows that other Kemetic persons don't want to be around us, and he'll still make sure that we're favored because we have this favor on us. And sure enough, they end up getting what we call the land of Goshen, and they stay there, and they end up getting more and more and more, right? But I want to show you how basically Israel, or in this case we can say Joseph, right? But Israel is responsible for the growth of Kemet. And Kemet was allowed to grow as long as the Pharaoh recognized the gift that was stirred up in those who served and were the children of the Most High, Elohim Shaddai. Right? How you doing, Michael? Thanks for being part of the community. Thank you for, or I'm sorry, thanks for the likes. Thank you for the gift. And how you doing? So it's important for us to catch that many persons are not aware of that piece, is that according to the Bible, Kemet grows because Israel is faithful. Kemet grows because Joseph has favor that follows his obedience. This is why Kemet grows. The same thing has happened in modern criminal, maybe modern. I'm thinking about this. Excuse me. The modern Kemet, the United States corporation, right? Who is it that has served? Who is it that was the lawgiver? Who is it that everybody looks for as far as how we preach, how we teach, what we wear, what music we wear? Who wants to be us? Right? As long as they don't have to be us. We're in the same situation. I know some persons don't like this, but it's real talk. We're still under the same governance, right? And the problem is that it used to be, hey, make him second in command. Hey, make him Benjamin Banneker, right? Listen to him. They'll steal from him at the end, but we can't make DC without him. I'm just saying. It's the same thing. Make it to where, hey, if we want to know the history about Greece and Rome and ancient times for them even, we do need to go through Flavius Josephus. Now we'll say that he's crazy because, anytime he speaks about Israel in our culture, we'll just say that he doesn't make sense. But for anything else that he writes out, let's make sure that we're reading his books. How you doing, Sister Takwa? Hopefully you're safe in your travels. How you doing, Mel Moreno? Thanks for being part of the community. See, it's the same get up. It used, hey, those cats, they crazy when they talking about that, but make sure they think that the Bible was written by the white man and that it has nothing to do with so-called black persons until we get to a place where, wait a minute, Nat Turner becomes Nat Turner because he finally got the real version of the Bible. You gave him a falsified version that you had even taken out of the falsified version anything having to do with somebody being free. Anything that had to do with them being slaves and having the slave mindset, you left it in. So he actually read a full version of the Bible, at least for what he had at this time. He reads a full version of the Bible and says, let my people go. Now, am I saying that we should be walking down here with machetes and stuff like that? Not necessarily, right? However, what I am going to tell you, though, is that Nat Turner moves when he has to move Yah. What about Harriet Tubman, the black Moses, right? She hears Yah telling her not only that she needs to be free, but she needs to have her people be free. And she didn't just free those persons who were like in the movies and stuff like that with somebody playing her who doesn't even think well of other black persons, right? But, she didn't just do well or play well or whatever in that sense, like the movie shows, like a lot of you only know about Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman was a general. They wouldn't give her the title of general because you can't have a woman be a general, let alone a black person. But they would let her lead other so-called African Americans. They would let her lead so-called black folk in the battle, and they would go in, they would snatch up black slaves, and they would free them. Right? She freed more persons in one of those instances than she did in all the stuff. Now, I'm not saying she didn't run around on. I'm not saying she didn't use the Underground Railroad, but what I'm saying is she was bigger than that. She was so big, as a matter of fact, that nobody really knows for sure. But the reason why Harper's Ferry failed with Pastor John Brown is because for whatever reason they weren't able to link up with Harriet. Harriet was going to be the one supplying everything they needed. So when Harriet didn't get word and she wasn't able to send her own troops, a whole bunch of black folk over, then all of a sudden they knew that everything was messed up. That's when they knew they were going to lose. You said exactly. Yeah, she would be a leader for real, yeah. Right? And so, I said it right the first time. And so these are the things that we don't recognize. Like, but nobody will tell you that that's what about Toussaint Louverture? Right? Toussaint. And how he fought. He was, matter of fact, And by this point in life, he was technically a slave owner, even though he simply would free other black folk and would have them live on his land free, but would call them slaves so that nobody else could buy them. That was a practice that a lot of us used in the Americas when we got free. That being said, he leaves that cushy place he is, and comes back to Haiti and fights and makes sure that he fights. And guess what caused him to go back? He read the Bible and read about Moses for the first time in the Bible and said, I see myself in that. We can go on. There's others who have done the same thing. There's others who've done the same thing in Africa. There's others who have thought of themselves as being able to free persons like Kwame Nkrumah because he knew about Moses and stuff. There are those who we even look up to. Mansa Musa. Musa is in another dialect is the same way as what you say Moses, right? There are persons who identify with us for centuries, not just only in the Bible that nobody said anything until maybe the 1800s, 1900s. No. Like, there are persons throughout the story of mankind, throughout our story, and even in his story, that consistently, right? Christopher Columbus said that they were looking. The reason why I mentioned 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verses 40 through 45, is because it talks about how Israel, the northern kingdom, didn't want to go back to Israel because they kept messing up going back to where they were. They wanted to go somewhere new and make sure that they were not inhibited by other person's belief systems. So they left, right, which was not what they were supposed to do, but I'm just telling you what the Bible tells us. So the 2nd Esdras, they left, and they went over and eventually got to places, but we're not even sure if this is them, but we know that eventually you'll see Native Americans up to Illinois and Tennessee and Mississippi and Georgia and Florida saying that they believe what Israelites believe even before Savannah, Georgia has a church built, right? For centuries, there was a belief system. For centuries, matter of fact, they brought Christopher Columbus brings a Israelite interpreter with him, because he knows, at least from what he's been told by other Africans who have been going back and forth now, and some of them who are Israelites who say they go back and forth, they know that, according to them, at least according to their testimony, that the persons over there are the same, and they're Israel. They're Negroes. They're not Africans. They're Negroes. They're what? They're not Africans. They're what? I'm going to say it again. They're what? They're not Africans. They're Negroes. This is important, because if we're going to tell this truth, what we're saying is, outright, that this person who's not an African, are you hearing me, beloved? She's not an African. Or they're not African. They consider themselves to be Negroes, or at least mixed with them. So they bring a Negro or Israelite interpreter with them, and they discover, once they have this conversation back and forth, they discover that these Negroes say, oh yeah, we're very familiar with West Africa. They've told us you guys exist. You're the first ones that we're seeing them. They tell them, we already know about the Bible and stuff. We don't need you to give us anything. They even say, if you write, and this stuff can't even be denied what I'm about to say next. This stuff is like just straight up. Everything I'm telling you is out of books, but you can see this stuff for yourself. They tell them specifically, they say, hey, we have the same weapons that they have over there. The guanine weapons. They tell them, these guanine weapons, we make them the same way and everything. They didn't believe them, even though Christopher Columbus knew about it, but they didn't really believe them. They were shocked. They took a bunch of weapons and, of course, persons to use as slaves, and they brought them back to Spain, and they tested the metallurgy. In Spain, they tested it in the Roman Catholic Church at the Vatican, right? They tested it even against some of the stuff that they found from West Africa, and come to find out everything they said was correct, down to the percentage of how much gold and silver and all types of stuff was in the weaponry, that they made the exact same way by persons who said, yeah, we are those people. Right? And so as much as persons want to deny it, everything that's been built, right? I can't say everything, because Yah's not into the acheval, the iniquitous issues, right? The evil, right? But a lot of stuff that was built, and a lot of stuff that's freedom, and a lot of stuff that's even taught, and a lot of ways that we even look at stuff is because of the persons who are Negro, that are told that they're nothing. And so it became, after a while, everything needs to be anti-black, right? And everything you became less Negro. Matter of fact, now there are many persons who teach you that to be called a Negro is a bad thing. But Negro is not the same as black. Eventually, negro became the word black. But negro is different than moreno. If you go over to Spain today, if they said, what color am I? Somebody would say moreno. They wouldn't say negro. But if somebody said you are a Negro or a negro, they're talking about something different. And we're not aware. Right? We're not aware of it. So we're walking around basically with power that, according to Genesis 38, is it Genesis 38 or Genesis 28? Might be Genesis 28. Or Genesis 30, I can't recall off the top of my head, where heaven meets earth, where Jacob has a dream, right? Before he's Israel, he has a dream when he gets to Padan Aram. I think it might be Genesis 28. But when he gets to Padan Aram and he finds Rachel and he finds Leah, right? He has the dream with Jacob's ladder. And when he has this, is when heaven meets earth. And there will be a people who will be where heaven meets earth. Wherever these people are, heaven should meet earth. Wherever these people are, they should be a tree planted by the rivers of water. Wherever these people are, if anybody's going to be grafted in, they should be grafted in to where they are and to what they do, because they're supposed to keep the word. Just as we've been keeping a word, or keeping a position, or keeping a style, or keeping a livelihood, or keeping something that everybody's looking for us to keep. Problem is, though, is that we've gotten into this unfortunate space, as Paul presents it in Romans chapter 10, verse 2. We have a zeal for Elohim, but it's not according to intimacy. It's not according to knowledge. And therefore, since we don't have intimacy with it, right, Yah's people perish, but for a lack of knowledge. And not because knowledge or intimacy with him has not been presented. It is because of what? It is because we have rejected knowledge. And since we have rejected this intimacy, Yah has kept his word, and he has rejected us. Even sometimes, depending on the curse, he has rejected us into the third and fourth generations. And we've just been repeating the same thing. But see, here Israel is the reason why Kemet grew. First things first. If we're going and we're standing mostly on Genesis 47 today. You tried to steal your identity. I was identity. This is why he's upset now. Yeah. You know, one of the many reasons, right? How you doing, Dejan? How you doing? Is it Nabara? Math? Not? I'm not sure how you pronounce the end. But welcome. So now we have Israel. Hear me, beloved. Israel's still here. The Negro's still here. And we're still doing everything we can to mix and match with everybody else and allow somebody else's culture or somebody else's belief system to be on top of ours rather than follow faithfully. And hello, is it Shalom, Shalom, man. Thank you for being on. Shalom to everybody. Peace. Come on in. Peace and blessings to everybody. Right? So we're in this really wild place, in this weird predicament, because we keep doing, remember I said earlier, ain't nothing new. How you doing, Sister Shirley? Ain't nothing new under the sun. We're continuing to do the same thing, rejecting intimacy or knowledge with the Most High God. We're doing the same thing that we were doing before. We're rejecting a time of intimacy, right? To be one with the Most High, to be married to the Most High. We're rejecting it. Right? How you doing, Brother Josh? It's not that it's not there. It has been rejected. And because we have rejected him, I'm sorry, Sister Michelle, excuse me. Shalom, how you doing? You said you rather be called a Negro than an African American. She said she told you were crazy. Yeah, because persons have been taught that it's crazy for us to believe in who we are. But the Negro, even in time, comes before the African American. Matter of fact, even when there was an American, there were so-called Afro-Americans that was kind of starting to spread. Malcolm X was even very big on that. I believe even you had a little bit of that going back to Garvey, right? The Afro-American possibly, but he was trying to get us to just be African. Everybody was supposed to be African. That being said, nobody really cared about us as African Americans until what, like late 70s or late 80s, late 70s or 80s, right? When Jesse Jackson ran, all of a sudden everything was African American, African American, African American. Before that, there was no such thing. At least not on our radar. I'm not saying nobody ever said it. What I'm saying is nobody really was out here in these streets identifying as an African American. Matter of fact, if you recall, nobody had a problem at one point even being called Negro. They said, I am not your Negro. It wasn't until you actually had persons outside of it, like maybe the 5%ers in the 60s and stuff, as they grew, and persons who were into the Nation of Islam, right, NOI, and you have persons going back to, I'm forgetting his name, the Moorish man in the late 1800s. Please forgive me. I should know his name, but nobody was out here saying we were African American. Nobody really had a problem with being called a Negro, right? Don't call me an N-word, but you can call me a Negro because that's who I was. You said it's patented and African American means you are food. Well, yeah. So depending on that, yeah. So there's truth to that. Long story, uh, long story short, more than anything, especially in the States, it means you are African American means you are property, right? You are not. In order to be somebody's property, you cannot be a real person. So a lot of persons get this mixed up, and I like a lot of persons who say this with a lot of other teachings, but this part of their teaching is false, even though it's in the ballpark. You were never considered by law to be a three-fifths of a human being. If I can just put that out there. And thank you for joining us on podcast, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We appreciate your presence. Those who are joining us later on different platforms. I'm going to say that again because a lot of persons are not aware of that. You were never considered to be three-fifths as far as lawfully. Now, if there's some human being that said different, hey, whatever. But by law, you were never considered to be three-fifths of a human being. Many persons don't know. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, the noble Drew Ali. That's what I was looking for. Thank you for helping me because I was like, that's bad. I don't have that one. I should have that one right in my pocket. Can't believe I didn't have that one ready. The noble Drew Ali. Excuse me, y'all. Yeah, so noble Drew Ali was also teaching some of this, and there's reasons why those persons taught the same thing. If you go into, the path that all of them kind of took that was similar. Nevertheless, though. Right, but being a Negro was never an issue because a Negro was an actual group of people. They were a nation, and it wasn't until they outlawed it in Europe and started looking for chattel first as Negro. They were looking for first the Negro, not the black, not the African. The first person on what we call chattel slavery, if I'm talking about the so-called white is right and everything else is wrong. At first, it wasn't black on the bottom, it was Negro on the bottom. Once they started running out of Negroes, and they started getting anybody that looked like one, including some Native Americans who are partly Negro and some of them who aren't, and including some Africans who are part Negro and some of them who aren't, and Austronesians and Melanesians and Polynesians. They started making slaves out of all these persons. But first things first was the Negro. How you doing, Sister Joy? Well, first things first was the Negro. And nobody wants to have that honest dialogue, but that's honesty. That's straight honesty. That's straight honest dialogue from the book, not wavering to the right or to the left. That's straight up out the book. Like the first ones they looking for. How you doing, MFY? Right? My father Yahweh, how you doing? The first thing they're looking for is what? Is the Negro. When they couldn't get any more Negroes, or it was hard to keep getting at them, then all of a sudden they start going against the Africans, but they had the Africans going against each other, and some of the first person they had going against each other was to get them to come against us. That's right, they always had to tell you, so they put it in a lot of movies and stuff as well. They're looking for it. And Shalom, Sister Angela. Excuse me, and Mike. Right, they're always looking. They have to tell you some of this stuff to a certain degree, but it's not the black race that was the problem initially, and still isn't the so-called black race, right? The black race has become problematic because they have put black in place of Negro, because they're trying to hide the Negro, because the Negro, by definition, by lawful definition, by ancient lawful definition, etc., the Negro is the actual Israelite. And those that are Israelites, we have a right, because everybody knows about our nation. But now others have said that they are you, they really are not, and are the synagogue of the Satan. So now they have given you artificial corporations to unite over an artificial identity, and have got many Negroes to stop being private so that they can be Negroes in private, and have decided to start being public so that they could be African Americans in public. If you don't get the sovereignty references or the lawful references, basically what I'm telling you by law is that many persons have decided to put down artificial versions of their humanity, right, so that they really carry no humanity. To be a human by law is considered to be a monster. I'm not even making that up. And the truth hurts, and it's hard for a person to digest, because when I say this, even if I say it over and over again, many persons will not look this up. You'll think that I'm crazy. And you'll go, see, this is why you guys are in a cult. They'll call it all this stuff. But they won't look up law. Black's Law Dictionary, which by the way is not written by a black man, as somebody who has black as the last name, right? And thank you. Yes, we do teach sovereignty on Patreon and stuff like that in that tier. There's something you can go back there and get a lot of stuff, right? But hear what I'm saying, beloved. Hear what I'm saying, right? Truth hurts as well. If you look at law, just law, right? This is why they keep you away from law, because why would you look for law if you've been told that you can be lawless and still be in Yah's will? So many will never look for this or won't care about this because they'll say, well, Yah doesn't care about this, but the world does. And you are in the world, beloved, but you shouldn't be. How you doing, Minister Morel? How you doing, old line? Right? Hear this again, beloved. I'm going to say it again. Yes, you are in the world, but you shouldn't be what? And the word world there, thank you, babe, you shouldn't be of it. And by the way, the word world there means what? In the Greek, cosmos with a K. K-O-S-M-O-S, right? So you, right, are in the world, right? Sorry, right? And since you're in the world, every sign points towards your destruction. Every single sign that you're seeing in this world today, how you doing, Sister Taylor, points towards you and I being what? Destroyed. Everything in this system is the Negroes on the bottom and everybody else on top. This is why many, see, watch this, I'm not trying to cause more, whatever, I'm just trying to give you a truth. I know a person don't want to even when you tell the truth, it starts messing with people because we're so lawless. But this is why one of the things that happens is irritating on both sides of our diaspora is when the African, so-called African, is against the so-called African American, and the so-called African American is against the so-called African. The reason why it's so annoying and so messed up is because that's what Willie Lynch wants. That's what Deuteronomy 28:15-68 is designed to do. Matter of fact, it's a curse, a sign that we're not righteous, because if we were righteous, we would be together, the Negro. And then as a Negro, we would make sure anybody else grafted in, they have to come in righteously. Instead, we're so separate and we're so messed up that we know we need help. So we allow any kind of help. And we don't tell persons, hey, if you come in, this is the order and structure. This is why you have all these persons who get together on all these different live sessions and stuff. No shade, because we do it some too. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. And they'll get on, and if you notice, you'll hear all these people preaching and teaching and stuff, and you're like, wait a minute. They don't even seem all the time to believe the same thing, or nobody even corrects anybody if something is off. And it's because that we're so afraid of being by ourselves that we've started to partner with everybody else, but we haven't said, hey, wait a minute, first things first, guess what? The Negro has to come back together and has to be the tree. That means their belief system has to come back together and be the tree. If you don't believe so, once again, the Israelite, nowhere in your Bible does it ever tell you that the Israelite is no longer supposed to be where they're supposed to be. Nowhere in your Bible does it say that Israel is no longer allowed to the tree. Matter of fact, not only that, it tells you that Israel has to be on the names, right? The 12 branches, the 12 sons, right, or 11 sons and one grandson, have to be on where the doorposts are. When you walk into the kingdom, when you walk into heaven, you have to walk through the authority of one of the 12 names. And the 12 names that you stand upon are the 12 names of the apostles. So foundationally, I've got to stand on what the apostles stood on. And as far as access, I've got to stand on what was lawful for the children of Israel. If I don't stand on those things or not authorized to go through those things because I went through them, then guess what? I'm not allowed into the kingdom of heaven. Give me Romans chapter 8, verse 18 and 19. This is our third affirmation. It goes like this. It says, the suffering, the things we choose to go through at this present time, are not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall yet be revealed. And the creation, are revealed in us, by the way. Revealed in us. And the creature, or the creation, is waiting on us, as the children of the Most High, to manifest. This means that the stuff I'm going through now is getting me ready to give me access to that door. Right? And that if I do what I'm supposed to do now, I'll gain access, and others who are watching can then become grafted, then be adopted, then become children. But first, they don't even know which way to go. When they see us becoming children of the Most High and getting what's for us, then they realize the only way they can get the same is to do what we do. That's how important you are. Thank you for the love. That's how important you are. Israel, do you hear what I'm saying? It never stopped being that. Paul says it to the point to where in Romans chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, he says, should we go ahead since Israel messed up and nobody would believe our report and this and that, and Israel itself was messed up and didn't get stuff and we went against the Messiah, should we therefore say Israel doesn't matter? He says, Elohim forbid. That shouldn't even be in your mindset. If that's of your mindset, you're not Israel, you're not grafted in, you're not supposed to be preaching or teaching this message. How you doing, Brother Bradley? How you doing, Sister Michelle? It's right there in front of you. It says it's clear as day. Right? This is not for everybody. We keep telling persons this. This is not for everybody. This is not for every black person. This is not for every so-called white person. This is not for every so-called black person. This is not for every Kemetic person. This is not for every so-called American. This is not for every person that has locks. This is for those who will follow through and make this their nation. This will be their language. This will be their tongue. This will be their mindset. This will be their law. This will be their statutes. This will be, yes, even their religion. Because the religion of Israel is for the people of Israel. See, they didn't teach you that. If you are part of a religion, the religion is just what a legion of persons repetitively do. So if you're of the religion of Christianity, then you have a whole people that you stand by. If you're a Protestant, you have a pope. No, I don't have no pope. No, you're part of the religion called Christianity. If you're part of the religion called Protestantism, then you have a pope. He is the King of England. Period. I don't care how you want to slice this. He is the King of England. You come from Roman Catholicism. I don't care how you want to slice it. That's why you still have bishops, right? You come from making money off of persons, off of Negro and chattel slavery, right? You come from that. We're warned about Balaam doctrine and Nicolaitans doctrine, where our oppressors are preaching us crazy as overseers. We're warned about that several times over. The assembly of Ephesus, the first assembly, is warned about it in Revelation. The third assembly, the assembly of Pergamos, is warned about it in Revelation. Oh my greatness, they're not ready for the teaching. But Holy Spirit, sometimes, I'm trying to help somebody because somebody's so frustrated, so mad, and so angry, and not getting what's going on. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to show you something. You are in a position to where you've been led by the oppressor so much that the oppressor's word holds more weight. And you look at the oppressor as being somebody who's more worthy of hearing what you're supposed to guard and keep. Isaiah 53 says, you are the keeper of the word. Who shall believe our report? It's repeated by Paul in Romans chapter 10. Who shall believe our report? This is not everybody's to report it. You can record what we report, but this is not for you to report. You're not in charge of this. Yeah, don't go by their pagan ways. How you doing, Manuel? How you doing, Tiny? Renew your mind, right? That's why after we get all that stuff on the Roman road, and we learn who we are in Romans, the Christology, and the study of it, and what we're supposed to hold, those of us who are really in Christ, according to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 6, those who are really in Christ, right? Those who He's in us and we're in Him. If that's what if we really are that, then we should be keepers of certain things. So I want you to know this. Watch this. Kemet, back to, we're actually focusing on Genesis 47 today. Believe it or not. Thank y'all for the love. Thank you for your energy. I'm loving it so far. Praise y'all. It was started by Minister Samuel Lorette stirring up the pot earlier this rising for ERBS, Early Rising Bible Study Session. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. You ready? All right. And all the stuff that we're talking about today. So Pharaoh goes up and said again. So Pharaoh blesses Joseph's family, right? He blesses Israel. Guess what Israel does? Israel blesses Pharaoh. I'm going somewhere today, right? I'm not trying to be obnoxious with it, but it is what it is, right? Israel blesses Pharaoh. Now, it's important to keep that little tidbit because how many times do we continue to see Israel bless Pharaoh? I'm trying to help somebody. I'm not saying we can't, but Israel just blesses Pharaoh, but now it's gotten to a place to where Pharaoh doesn't have to set aside anything for the people of Yah. Pharaoh doesn't have to do all that. And I wanted to be so you kind of so we're kind of getting to a place. Man, I'm gonna hit that in a little bit because if we're not careful, we can take that sometimes the wrong way. Not saying you are necessarily, but I'm gonna hit that today too because that's part of what the Holy Spirit had in my ear, so to speak. Had that little bug in my ear and telling me to listen to a few things that have been going on, and it's starting to get a little bit out of control. And we have to be keepers of His word, all of it, at all times. So we're gonna talk about some of that. That being said, excuse me, where are we at? So that being said. So Pharaoh blessed Israel. When Pharaoh blesses Israel, Israel must bless Pharaoh. That's word. Because anybody that blesses us will be blessed. That doesn't always mean we have to be the one to bless them, however Yah says. But Joseph has been blessed by Pharaoh. Now Israel comes. Israel gets blessed by Pharaoh. Right? So Pharaoh comprehends how this works. He's going to be blessed. And Israel being blessed is the reason why Kemet is blessed. Right? I need you to catch this. When Joseph was brought out of prison, Joseph is allowed to clean up, do all this stuff, and present himself as, one might even say, somewhat as an equal to Pharaoh. Right? Pharaoh then listens. Joseph blesses him. What does Pharaoh do? Second in command. Blesses Pharaoh. Gives him a wife, blesses Joseph, gives him a wife, does all this, and Joseph, as we're going to discover, is so obedient and so faithful that he basically is running the country, but runs it so well because Pharaoh still gets to be in position. He always keeps Pharaoh in position, but says, this is for me, this is for my family, this is what we do, and therefore maintains being second in command. But I want to start off with just this point real quick, if I might suggest it once again, if I might just put it in your ear one more time to hear. Pharaoh, hear me, beloved. Pharaoh is blessed by Israel. Kemet is blessed by Israel. They were blessed by Israel when we first even determined what was going on with the dream, interpreted the dream. Blessed by Israel when Elohim Shaddai gave us a plan of attack, a strategy, right? To make sure that we were not only just doing us during the times of the lean times, but the law had us in place to make sure we were setting aside 20% of everything that was in Kemet, to ensure that when tough times came, we would be able to take care of everybody. This is the reason why even Israel shows up to Joseph and shows up to Kemet, because Israel, they themselves have run out of food and have to come to Kemet, not realizing that they're coming to their own. They're coming to Israel. Israel is coming to Israel. Israel is coming to Joseph. Not knowing, thinking Joseph is gone. But Israel was still in place. Joseph was still in place. Righteousness was still in place. He said you appreciate it if we all touch and agree on physical 100% healing. She was admitted into the hospital yesterday. Pavals went out. Oh. Oh, okay, yeah, thank you for letting me know. I had no clue. Well, thank you for letting us know. Matter of fact, I will let her know real quick. How you doing, Jay Cooper? I don't know. I don't know what's I don't even know how to serve. Great, I'm glad I know. Sometimes we don't know how to move, but we don't know what's going on. Thank you for letting us know. Praise Yah. So we're gonna keep that and keep Sister Mavis in prayer. Praise Yah. Alrighty. How you doing, brother Jacob? We were putting your stuff out earlier and promoting all the stuff that you sent out and everything. I can't even hold up everything that you sent, but we were making sure the person's new. So thank you again. I can now use it because I didn't want to dare use it before. I made sure everybody saw everything packed up correctly and all that. So, but we praise y'all. We're thankful and grateful for each and every one of you. Yeah. I just saw that you said it happened yesterday. I'm just saying, now that I know, we'll make sure that we keep an eye on things and we'll pray some more added to the prayer list and stuff as well. But But yeah, so yeah, where are we at already? Um, oh yeah, so Kemet was blessed because they blessed Israel, right? And here's something that I want you to see that's very amazing in this. Yah's plan for us is so much more involved, right? Yahweh's plan for us is so much more involved than than the surface level. If I keep it a buck, man, Yahweh's plan is so much more involved. How you doing, Jose? See, for them, they didn't catch it. Yah had sent Pharaoh a dream, right? That only Israel could interpret. Only Joseph could interpret that dream. I don't care what anybody else says about it. Yah sent the dream, right, to Pharaoh. Sent it to him twice, basically, right? And sent him so he would pay attention to it. And he put Joseph in a position, working out all things together for Tabah. Even put Joseph. He put him in a position, right, to be in a place to where the only one that was going to help Kemet was going to be one who was faithful to him, right? In other words, nobody else was going to catch. He came up with the dream. He saw what was about to happen. He said, I'm going to make sure that Pharaoh is paying attention to it. But even with Pharaoh paying attention to it, because he's not one of us, because he's not in the kingdom, he's a king. He's Pharaoh. But he's not Malachi, right? At Yahadashah. He's not with the Most High Yah. And so since he is not with the Most High Elohim Shaddai, he knows that Pharaoh will not be able to catch or interpret what's going on. You hear me? But he gave it to a king. And remember, your gift will bring you before great men. You have a gift, and Yah's going to have greatness around the world. Greatness in your neighborhood, greatness in your district, greatness in your community, greatness with your friends, with your circle of friends, your 5 friends, your 10 friends, your 25 friends, whatever. He's going to have this thing set up to where the only way that what persons are seeing is going to be able to be taken care of is with him. And can I be honest with you? One of the things that's been happening with us as a people, if we just keep it above, one of the things that's been very difficult for us as a people, if we just keep it above, is we have to recognize that many of us are still looking for somebody else to tell us what Yah's word is, to tell us what our dreams mean, to tell us what our clothing even is and how we should operate and stuff. But he's given them the ability, he's given the world the ability to see something's up, but they can't see what we see. It's like we talk about with Revelation all the time. Revelation for us means that we rejoice because of what's about to happen, what we see happening. They call it apocalypse in the Greek though, because it's something they're afraid of. We revel, we rejoice at what the Most High Yah says is about to happen. But they are afraid, right? And don't be afraid. Matter of fact, let's go to Matthew 24. I just want to throw this out here. Right? This is kind of what I was talking about earlier that we were going to come back to. I just want to throw this out here for you. And thank y'all for the love again. That's why we rejoice, we revel. Look, somebody needs to catch this. Somebody needs to think about this, to know this. Right? Hey, we're rejoicing in what they're afraid of. Your responsibility is not to try and snatch their fear away. The only person that you should worry about as fear is with the Most High, right? Afraid is a different term. And even courage means one can be afraid. Matter of fact, you're supposed to work out your own salvation with respect, fear, and trembling to be afraid. Right? You're supposed to work out your own salvation, not own soul salvation. Somebody wrote that in to some sermon a long time ago. People don't read their Bible. Right? Read your Bible. The blessing says, work out your own salvation with fear, respect, reverence, and trembling. So there are some things you should be afraid to make sure that you don't do in an incorrect fashion. Right? But you're working out your own salvation. what you see through the lens of Yahadasha'am, through the lens of Yahashavai, through the lens of Yahava, through the lens of Ravak HaKodash, what you see, the prism you see through, is completely different than those who are not followers of the way. It's just not, right? And I need you to recognize this, that they don't see it. They don't see what you see. Pharaoh can see something's coming, but he can't interpret it, right? They can see that there's evil afoot, but they can't tell you what Achival is, right? Matter of fact, they're trying to bring up their own version of morality. The enemy's children, who are supposed to be at enmity with the Most High's children, have their own version of morality. That's why you had the tree of life you could eat of, or the tree of so-called knowledge of good and evil you could eat of. The so-called tree of knowledge of good and evil is a tree that says that I am going to be the one to say what is morally corrupt and bankrupt, and I'm going to be the one to say what is morally righteous, which means that if it's of human beings, not only will it be wrong, but it will change. Yahweh says, if you go with what I say, the tree of life, I am Adon, I am Yahweh, right? I changeth not. My Savah, or excuse me, my Zara, my word, it does not change. Right? Zara'at Yahweh, right? Yahweh Asad, Zara'at Yahweh, La'ah Achiva. Right? It is without evil. It does not change. If the law says this, and then tomorrow the law has changed, it means that somebody has lied. Has Yahweh ever lied? Has Yahweh ever lied? Has Yahuwah ever lied? Has Yahweh ever lied? Has Yahweh ever lied? No. Never. So if somebody changes what it says to something else today, it means that Yahweh is not with them. A mistake is different. Oh, I made a mistake. I said this. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, let's see what you're saying now, and let's test it against the word. If it's righteous, it's righteous. But if somebody is changing what they said to now, I'm just trying to help you out. No offense to anybody, it's real. If you part of an organization and you say, I don't worship Elohim, I worship nobody but Elohim, no gods, etc. And then all of a sudden, next thing we know, we see you saying that you worship God. Even if it's like something's off, right? If somebody says, I'm going to be part of an organization, right? This is church hoppers. And then all of a sudden you see them part of another organization 3 weeks later, and another one 3 months later, another one 2 weeks after that, and then another one 2 years. Okay, they made it 2 years, but that's it. Then somebody is not, Yah told you that you're supposed to keep changing that much. I'm not saying maybe you're an evangelist preaching in different places, but being under leadership or stuff, this is what I'm saying. We are people who are really off. Yeah, something's wrong, something's off. Right? If you were married, but then was another brother 2 weeks after you were married, and then another brother after that, and another brother, and eventually a sister, and then a brother again, somebody gonna say something wrong. Right? If you married to the Most High, then be his wife. Being his wife means you're not going nowhere. I'm just saying, if it's that easy for us, and for a lot of us it is, that easy for us to be able to just be part of a new church tomorrow, or to make sure that I'm speaking a new thing tomorrow, or now all of a sudden, this teaching that, hey, I was telling everybody I'm with and this and that, and next thing you know, there's no obedience. All of a sudden now, oh, somebody gave me this thing or whatever. I'm just saying, and then we don't even do the thing of, okay, let's research and blah blah, and if this is that or whatever, okay, and can you show me? You're saying this doesn't belong, this and that or whatever. All right, and then even when you show, and somebody says, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm swinging around and repeating myself. But long story short, right, we have an issue, and we don't stick things out long enough to see the plans of Yah. Watch this with Joseph. Joseph is given not only the ability to interpret the dream, not only see the dream, interpret the dream. Joseph has a plan. He has a plan. What is the plan? When you say that you got in a word that nobody else has, preacher, prophet, teacher, etc. What is the plan that comes with it? For every vision, there's provision. What's the provision that Yah has given you or has shown you, even in just the blueprint? And how you doing, Sister Carla? His word cannot come back void. That's right. So what is the plan? It's always interesting. Everybody's ready to tell you what Yah said, but Yah seems to never have a plan for his people. And that seems to be off. Because my Bible says that I know the plans that I have. I know the thoughts that I have towards you. Thoughts for you to prosper. Thoughts for evil to not even be on your radar. So how is it that we've got all these persons who are getting all this truth and all this prophecy and all these things, but they have no plan? I'm gonna be honest. I'm done with the brothers out here who are acting like we gotta go ahead and bang, bang, shoot up whoever, and that's what we're gonna do. Everybody gonna be our slaves and blah, blah, because these brothers have no plan. The Bible says that you should make sure that you build in homes that you live in while you're in the land of your captivity. Meanwhile, these brothers ain't got no plan. Something's off. Everybody's telling these young boys to go out here and be ready to fire off at somebody, but they don't know how to shoot. I ain't talking about just know how to get a gun and put their finger on the trigger. I'm talking about they don't know when to put their finger on the trigger. They don't know when to have the safety on. They don't know how to make sure that they can get a great score at the shooting range. They don't comprehend what the law says as far as how you're supposed to protect them, when you're supposed to protect. People just saying, go ahead and shoot. Okay, so now you got these brothers that marched around. Remember, there were brothers that were marching around and stuff, and they were shooting themselves in the foot by accident, and they had their scopes on backwards, and they were doing a lot of wild stuff because a lot of these brothers were not trained. Even the brother who called himself, didn't he call himself Jam Master Jay? Something like that. Even the main brother, he got in trouble. Why? Because they couldn't get him on protecting our people. What they got him on was the technicality. You don't know the law. You don't know how to protect yourself and your people or protect others. So he's sitting there making a point, thinking that he pointed at somebody, forgetting he's got the gun in his hand. And so as he's pointing the gun towards the people, now you've pointed the gun at police officers. Right? We didn't train. You didn't make sure you train these persons. Oh, thank you, Sister Tucker. I'll be careful. Right? You didn't train these persons for this. But Yah says that he's got a plan. He's got a plan for us. So what's the plan? When these persons come through, what is the goal? Is the goal just to do the same thing everybody was doing on Sunday? Right? Are we just going back to the same thing, that my church is better than your church? Are we just saying, look, man, listen to my pastor preach because he preaches better than everybody else? Or are we actually doing something where we're coming together as community? And are we going to see the plan through? Joseph is not only given vision, is not only told what it means, but he has a plan. That's what got him second in command, right? And he is the reason why Egypt or Kemet or Mizraim survived. How you doing, Focus Westcott? He is the means. He is the vessel, rather, that's used, right? And he says you got a plan for the 7 years of famine during the 7 years of plenty. Israel. Are you in your plenty planning for your little? And I'm here to tell you, some of y'all don't even recognize you're in your plenty now because you're so busy comparing to everybody else, forgetting who you are. You are the ATM. You are the tree that others should be grafted into. You are the ones who are supposed people should believe your report. You should have a report because you should be reporting, right? In other words, if you're reporting, this is a lawful term. It's also a maritime law type term, right? Or something for mariners, right? Somebody who's out there as who's a sailor, etc. If I come into port, right, there's a specific side usually of the ship that I'm coming on, right? Because port is left, starboard is right, and I'm coming in to port, and I'm coming in to line up that way to make sure that everybody can get on and off, because usually the on and off and everything is going to be pretty much on the port side, right, for a specific reason. Just like if you're on an airplane, if you're coming in, you usually get on and off on the port side, on the left, right? There are doors possibly on the right, but that's emergency doors. You would hope that with no emergency, everybody's coming in a specific way. Now, if I'm going to report, what that means is I've traveled, and I've left, and I've come back to report. Amen, Sister Michelle. Yeah, I come to report. I was connected with you. I left on assignment. I've got some information. I've got some resources. I have some things to share. Yah has led me. Holy Spirit's led me, etc. Okay, here I come back. I'm reporting what it is that I found. As I've traveled out where Yah has sent me, I'm here to report. So this is who shall believe our report. Not everybody has been on this journey. Hallelujah, somebody. This is why, once again, we have to clear this up. This is not for everybody. This walk is not for everybody. This is not for you just because you black. It's not for everybody. It's not for you if you would sit up there and you would preach against the will of Yah from the pulpits, because we're warned about you in Revelation chapter 2, verse 14, about those who are into this Balaam doctrine that says Israel doesn't matter. Most of the persons preaching that, right, most of them that are preaching it are not the so-called white congregations, because they don't even have to preach it there. It's the ones that were preaching it to you. You're the ones that keep hearing over and over again during your stuff, oh yeah, don't worry about Israel doesn't matter, don't worry about the law. They tell you that you were a heathen. They told you that you grew up a Gentile. Question, who are the gens, and how can you be a Gentile if you're not a gens? How are you of the gens and you're not a gens? Somebody lied to you. The gens are a people. They're a nation. They're a group. They're a bloodline. Right? Julius Caesar is more Gentile than you. And he's not even necessarily white, but he is. You don't know what a gens is. It's like somebody saying a Caucasian. Caucasian is because you have Eurasia, and basically in the middle of Eurasia, you have these persons of Asia. Caucasus Mountains of what? Of Asia. So Caucasian don't mean white. Matter of fact, you need to look more into Indians, or more of those who are untouchables, who later on become a word that you guys know as today, which is a bad word to use, but a word that you guys know of today, called gypsy. Because persons thought, because of their skin complexion, that they were Egyptian. And at one point, a lot of them were actually Muslim, then they came into being Christian. But you're sitting up there, you don't know the difference. So, persons are telling you all these things, you're not even, you can't be Caucasian. So-called Mr. White Man, you can't be Caucasian. Are your people from the Caucasus Mountains in Asia? That's what we're talking about, Caucasian. It's a compound word. And the same thing has happened with us, right? I'm not saying that your complexion isn't dark, but you can't be black if you're not Kemet, because Kemet is the land of blacks. You can't be black if you're not Ethiopian, because that's the land of blacks. You can't be black if you're not Khalifa, because the actual Californian people, Native Americans, they wanted to be black like Khalifa. You can't be black if you're not Kush, because that's a nation called black. You just go black because we dark. But Swarthy doesn't get you in. Black is talking about a nation. You don't even know what a black nation does. This is why now you guys have gone and started talking about FBA, your federal, or what is it, Foundational Black Americans. Which means basically you're saying anything that you can't name on the spot, you're on a hip-hop vibe. If I can't name it something now that I feel like naming it now, then I'm going to go ahead and dismiss it. Or I'll use whatever pieces I want. It's like those who say that they're hip-hop. No such thing as hip-hop culture. If you have hip-hop culture basically is you wearing everybody else's stuff so slightly to the side. You got the same pants that somebody else got on, but you sagging them. You got everybody else's cap on, but you're putting it slightly to the side, or saying now it's a snapback. Right? Whatever you want to call it. It's somebody else's culture that you're wearing, but you're so, because you're so without culture, you forgot that it's not, if you bless somebody or you buy somebody else's stuff, then it'll go ahead and look great on you. What we were told was those who bless us will be blessed. Those that curse us will be cursed. Those who are of us will get in, graft in, or otherwise. Those who don't rock with us, they don't rock with the Most High Yah. And persons don't like when you talk like that, because you got to speak real. We have to speak not only power to truth, we got to speak power because it's true. And a lot of persons don't want to go here and have that honest dialogue, those honest conversations. But that's real talk. Right? I shouldn't be walking, like, I'm not saying I don't bless anybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I only bless Israel only. That's not what I'm saying. But here what I am saying is that I recognize that it's not my responsibility to run around thinking that my blessing comes because somebody else, because I'm blessing everybody else. My blessing comes because I'm supposed to be faithful to Yah. Whatever He says goes. And whatever He says goes means that He blesses me and He watches over me. And if anybody tries to come against me, well, then they are cursed. Because to come against me, especially if I follow Yah's will, to come against me is to come against the Most High Yah. You can be mad at that all you want, but that's the truth. If you come against me and I serve Yah, then that means that you come against Him. And that means if you're going to come against Him, you should be ready for everything that comes with it. And that's thank you. That's Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Right? And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be what? Be blessed. That's right. That's true anti-Shemitism. Anti-Shemitic, anti-Semitism, so to speak. That's the truth. If somebody comes against you, especially knowing that you're Israel, that's even worse. If they know who you are and they still will come against it, then the Bible says that they should be cursed. Not should be, they would be cursed. And through Abraham's promise, Isaac, through the promise, who triples down on the promise and birthright and blessing with Jacob, who becomes Israel, through Judah, through Joseph, etc., is the blessing. And everybody is mad. Everybody gets frustrated. Everybody gets mad. Everybody gets angry because we continue to just say, hey, the blessing matters. The birthright matters. What Yah has for us is still the goal. It still matters. You hear what I'm saying? It didn't stop. Right? It didn't stop. Through you, all nations, right? Matter of fact, if you want to go back, see, that's just verse 3. And how you doing? I'm not sure if it's Chris. Please forgive me if I'm not saying it correctly. I know I'm not. Thank you for being part of the community, though. Right? You got to look at Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. How you doing, one who whispers? It says it here. It says it like this. You ready? It says, now, Yehovah, right? Which back then they would have known him as Elohim Shaddai, right? But now the Lord has said unto Abram, before he becomes Abraham, get thee out of thy country. So what? Leave your father's house. Remember, if you know, especially about Jasher and some other stuff, you know that basically he has denounced his father's belief systems. His father has now passed away, right? So now that his father is gone, he says, get out of your father's country and from thy kindred. So come out of Syria. Come out of Canaan, Syria, come out of the Syria, area of Syria, all right? Leave that alone. Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from your family and from your father's house unto a land that I will show thee. So some of you need to realize, just because your father lived in a certain land, this is, by the way, this is just how sovereignty and how law works. It doesn't matter where your father is from. It matters who he is and who he's from. Doesn't matter where your mother is from. It matters who your mother is and who your mother is from. I know somebody don't like that either, but that's bars. That's truth. Right? You've been taught that a birth certificate, which really nobody was even using until you get to like the 1940s, 1930s and stuff. Yeah, you'll see people, but nobody even cared about it as far as it being something that the government was using like that until the 1940s. And something that just started happening has become something that you guys are making into this thing that was always there. Nobody cared about a birth certificate. There were certificates that Israel had, by the way. A lot of persons don't know this. If you were a Levite, for example, if you were an Israelite of some kind, for example, you had to be able to make sure, as an Israelite, that you could actually, as an Israelite, you had to be able to make sure that you could say who you were from. If you guys don't know about this, like during the times of just Israel in general, us being at our, I guess, as far as in the place that physical Israel is in now, right? Us living there. In those times, every 50 years, bare minimum, we had to come and we had to show on paper not where we were from, but who we were from. This is why Matthew chapter 1, forgive me YouTube for all the noise, trying to make sure y'all are charging. So this is why in Matthew chapter 1 and in Luke chapter 3, you'll see it's very important that Yahushua's legacy, that his family tree, that his bloodline, and even some of his DNA line is shown specifically. You'll see that in both. You'll see it in Matthew chapter 1 and Luke chapter 3. Matthew, the tax collector, puts it as the very first part of this letter, right? Of what he's putting happen, of his scroll. And Luke puts it right up next to the beginning because he's a physician. So if you think about it, a physician, one who might even make sure that he catches the baby coming out. And for the tax collector, one who's making sure by law he knows who's what, who's paying what, all these different things, whatever. Both of them made it a point to say, we need to tell you culturally who he's of. This person begot this person. One goes all the way back to Abraham, just to make sure there's no question there. One focuses and starts all the way back to Adam. But they make it clear who we're dealing with. Oh, no problem. I didn't even see the request thing. How you doing, Ronnie? How you doing, Miss Ladybug? If I didn't say so already. So you have to recognize all these things. You hear me? You hear what I'm saying, beloved? We have to recognize and realize all this is going on, and that who you are mattered. Not where you were from, but who you were from. It matters, right? It matters because if we don't know who you're from, then we can't verify you're part of our nation. Did you catch that? If I don't know who you're from, then I can't verify that you're one of us. This is stuff that we don't want to talk about, but this is law. How you doing, Big Donuts? So this is law, right? It doesn't matter where you were born. That's because you guys are on some artificial stuff. Nobody cared about who was. Watch this. Napoleon is not French, but he's known as as the greatest French general. Some would say the greatest French or the greatest general ever. But he's known as being French. Why? Because once he got to a certain level, you grabbed in. In order for you to get this position, you have to be known now as French. You have to give up on what you were, and you have to be French. Right? Napoleon's parents aren't French, but he's French. And therefore now persons will think of his parents as being French even though they're not. Right? If you study his history, you'll find out very quickly he's not French. That being said, though, he is a French dictator, French general, French mind, right? Whatever it is. And people look for him as what? As a Frenchman. As the French emperor, even. If you go to where he's buried, right? He's still looked at very highly, right? And thought of as being French. Because we don't recognize nationality. You see? So he is French. He's not, forgive me, a Corsican. Somebody say, no, he's Corsican. His parents, no, he's French. Right? I know what somebody means when they say he's Corsican, but he's not Corsican. He's French. Now, I'm saying all that to say the same thing. Like, we have to recognize who Israel is, where it's supposed to be. You have so many different things on you still. We have so much different church stuff on us still. We have so much different things like, oh, my family, blah, blah. Look, let me make this very clear. We at SOC do not believe he was a king. If you look at the book of Jasher, he definitely was a king, right? Right? If you look at the book of Jasher, I need you to recognize, I'm sorry, where was I at? Before, I'm with you, Sister Michelle, and Moses speak. Holy Spirit, help me. He was a king. He's not, of course, a king. He's French. Yeah, okay, and we're carrying a bunch of stuff from others. And so we've tried our best to become like Israel. So a lot of you say you're Israel, but you still thinking Baptist. A lot of you say you're Israel, but you're still thinking American. A lot of you say you're Israel, but you still thinking modern Hebrew, right? Like a lot of different things. A lot of you, like for example, if you want to do, um, Hanukkah or Hanukkah or Hanukkah, Chinukah, some of you say. A lot of you are looking at stuff that in there where if you look at Maccabees would say, don't do that. If you want to do what they did, sure, but they're doing some more of cleansing the temple and celebrating the fact that they were getting rid of the Greeks. So, right, and they had won that battle before they got into leagues with Rome, and then Rome would ultimately, mess us over, and we'd be in a position that we were in when Christ got there. Right? But a lot of persons don't recognize, like, yeah, okay, fine. And by the way, Hanukkah is not something that is biblical as far as you're commanded to do it. Just like Purim isn't. Purim is something you can do. It's a party. Ain't nothing wrong with a Purim party, because a Purim party don't stop. Right? Ain't nothing wrong with Hanukkah. If you're going to do what Yah says and make sure that you're not just doing random things that you hear so-called Ashkenazi or Khazarian or other Jewish persons saying, we do this because they're doing Talmudic stuff and they're also doing stuff that Maccabee says, yeah, that's stuff that your people were doing, that's stuff that Israel was doing. Yah wasn't pleased with that, he wasn't pleased with that. There's some things that actually tells you in Maccabee, he's not happy about this, he's not happy about that. But if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. What I'm saying is that those persons don't look at it from that. We're so hungry for anything that we just kind of allowed anything. And we forget that we're supposed to be a standard. If we do it, others, right? The suffering this present time not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall yet be revealed in us, and creatures are waiting on us to manifest as the children of the Most High. Not just manifest, but manifest as Yah's children. Those who are at enmity, those who are opposite of, those who are not of anything willfully that has to be against the will of Yah. So be careful in all this stuff as you're coming into Kemet. Yes, we blessed Kemet back then, and yes, Kemet is blessed by our presence still today. That being said, we might be in it, but we're not of it. We were always in Goshen, not just when we became slaves. We were in Goshen already. Are you catching it? Right? I want to make sure we're catching it correctly. We didn't, right? We didn't become persons that they started putting us in Goshen. Goshen was where we were because that's what we developed, and persons got jealous of what was happening in Goshen way before we were slaves. Just like persons were jealous of what was happening in the Americas before they started making slaves of you. You were already here. Just like persons got upset and frustrated with you when you were doing things in Russia. Look up Gannibal. Not Hannibal, who also is one of you, but Gannibal, Gannibal. And you would be shocked at the jealousy and everything that was going on by somebody, and they were so mad and frustrated at this guy, who literally is the reason why they remain free. His grandson ends up being the reason why they have the language they have today in Russia. And his grandson, or at least the main Russian language, and his grandson is one of the reasons why some of you even think of Russians having poetry. But we don't look at that as being something that's there to where we have a credibility that we open up doors to, or that Yah has opened up doors for us that no man can shut and no man can open. Just as in the days of Moses, just as in the days of Noah, just as in the days of Abraham, just as in the days of Joseph. Joseph has blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh has blessed Joseph's family. Israel now blesses Pharaoh. And we have this land of Goshen. We have this land that's ours. And even in so-called slavery, we still had separation from those that would enslave us. The only thing that we weren't doing, the only thing that began to suffer, right? And it began to suffer because we were enslaved. So when you're enslaved, one thing that begins to suffer is your worship. Once again, this is why Moses, first thing that he sent Gannibal, Gannibal. If you type in Gannibal from Russia, long story short, he's a young child that was taken. He was a prince. He became a slave to the Tsar or the Emperor, whatever he was, of Russia at the time. And then basically from there, the Emperor loves his development and his obedience and stuff so much that he actually makes him a child of the Emperor. Right? Kind of a Joseph story within itself. Right? But, and he is, if you look at his grandson is a famous poet. Right? But we have a lot of stuff that like that happens where we don't know who we are and what we open the doors to, and also too what we should do to stay separate, because a lot of us are trying our best to stay in certain cultures that are anti-you. We still having signal issues and everything. Okay. Well, those who are on today, prayerfully we'll get this. I'm trying my best. As soon as I had an opportunity to, I'm gonna try and get another hotspot. And then once I get a hotspot that's better than what we had, even that. Well, really, if I get the same kind that I had, I'd be very happy. But anyways, hopefully the signal's not too bad. It's been we've been losing a lot of folk lately with the lack of signal. So y'all pray for us. Hopefully we'll have that straightened out sooner than later. But yeah, so we got into this place to where we consistently and are still mixing iron with clay. We're still taking things that are very romanticized, and persons don't want to hear this, but even those of you who are Muslim, if you're going to be honest about it, if you got that moon, I'm not saying it doesn't predate it at all. What I'm telling you is Rome, right, has made the moon and the star appropriate, and persons forget that if you don't know that, or if you don't get what I'm saying, remember, to appropriate something or for something to be appropriate means it was taken and now it's being used by somebody else. The person who stole it is now using it to basically make some kind of finance off of, right? So that's what I'm saying when I'm saying it's been made appropriate. Okay? Not saying that that it's been made anything else other than appropriate. It's been taken and it's been told that what is something that was yours, if you were Muslim, and something that's yours now belongs to somebody else. And so a lot of you don't know that if you go to Rome, or you went to ancient Rome, especially still in Rome to this day, but if you were to go to Rome in ancient times, one of the things that you're going to see everywhere is going to be a moon and a star. Why is that? Because that's something that would be in Rome. Now, there are those who would say that there's stuff before that you have to know about the moon and the star, and I think there's some other things you should be careful of as far as, Ishtar or Ishtar and stuff like that. There's some things that I think you should be worried about. That being said, though, there are others that would argue with me and say what I'm telling you is incorrect, at least not all the way. So, to each their own on this part. But that being said, I'm telling you right now, you have a very romanticized viewpoint. Right? You have a very romanticized viewpoint on what's there. And so the same way people see the moon and the star, you don't think about that as being Roman. Right? You don't think about the fact that, hey, why did Turkey start using that? Or Turkish person start using that? Because that belonged to Rome. Remember, that was Eastern Rome. So now it becomes something different. You say, oh no. But remember that there's even some African nations and stuff like that, not realizing, well, yeah, there's persons who were Muslim who came down and started trying to do slave trade with different persons or whatever. So when you put that as your country flag, I don't care if you're in Africa or not, that comes from somebody else. That comes from somebody who was against our people. Why would you continue that? Why would you continue to lift that up? Why would you continue to teach on that? Why would you continue to have your children bow down to that or wave that with pride? That was something that used to enslave you. Right? Unless you are going to go back and actually teach something that goes back past Rome, I need you to recognize that many persons are walking around with a romantic viewpoint. And we just, right, like Christians, mixing of iron and clay. Their iron age is the Roman age, right? And they got that from the Bronze Age, right? And they got that from the Silver Age with the Medes and the Persians, who got it from the Babylonian age with the gold. And that goes back into the Assyrian age, and that goes back into the Kemetic age, or the Cushitic age. And we're not looking at, all these different things. Where did it come from? What was the belief system? Why is it still here? Why are people still using Christmas trees? Why are persons still, why is it that nobody quiet is kept Allah being sure for Allaham? Right? And that there are persons that worship Allah but are so-called Christians to worship Allah, but are followers of the way, and they use the same term, knowing that it's short for Allaham. So, can you see how some of this stuff can be getting like a little too close for comfort, especially if you don't know what is what, or what worships, what somebody said Allah does versus what Allaham does. A lot of persons are unaware, so we're sitting up there having these really, drawn out conversation, and here's the reality: the Muslim and the Christian who hate each other, for real, the Muslim and the Christian hate each other, but they both are romanticized. Both of them want to be Greco-Roman, right? Their fights were against each other to see who would be able to take what was original and make it their own. I know we don't like to have honest dialogue about that and stuff like that, but that's real talk. That's real conversation. Right? Real talk, real conversation. Is both sides were fighting over who would be able to continue alive. And here we are in the midst of that fight still. Here we are in the midst of that fight. Right? Quiet as kept. Nobody wants to talk about that, but it's real talk. Right? Nobody wants to have this honest dialogue about, hey, like, why is this fight here? Why are persons still saying this? Why is nobody gonna speak to this, or what is the real fight? And then now we start getting to places where everybody has to start lying or saying, hey, we're all the same, right? One of the things is very careful, be very careful with those who are especially those who are into hip-hop and stuff like that at the moment and all that, and the clip stuff is starting to come out, and so everybody's excited because clips has come back together. Be careful, beloved, right? Don't fall for the hype where all of a sudden you got no malice. And no malice, hey, he went on a spiritual journey, to each their own, but no malice is out here trying to get you and I to just start saying, believe whatever you want, right? Look at what Kendrick's been doing. Believe whatever you want. No, Kendrick tells you that he is Elohim. He told you that he is the devil and the Most High. He told you when he was reincarnated as the devil to give the devil or all these persons that did demonic stuff to give them a great name again. But if you did evil, it's evil. That's what's happening, and persons are falling for it, and these persons are antichrist spirits. I'm not gonna hold you. Just because Kendrick can rap doesn't mean that they're in the antichrist spirit. It doesn't mean that if you listen to it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen the same way that you would study. All right, anything else? Study to make sure you study to show yourself approved. Bring it before y'all that you can be a workman or workwoman that need not be ashamed. They can rightly divide the word of truth. All these persons are just going, oh yeah, because it's Kendrick versus Drake, so anything Kendrick said, no. Kendrick says a lot of craziness. Kendrick does a lot of craziness. Kendrick does a lot of idol worship of himself. Right? He has in the beginning of, is it the first track on the GNX album? Right? Where the lyrics basically, when he says somebody that they whacked out my murals, right? That kind of will make that kind of energy make you want to go to Europe and all that. Keep on listening. And he gets to a place where he says, cool, like, know who you are, know your rank. Always say that you're a god when you ate. Like, y'all don't see, 5% of stuff. People listen to Busta Rhymes and all the foolishness and craziness he be saying and stuff like that in the song, but you don't hear the 5% of stuff he throws out there. We just go, oh, because they're black. Once again, get out of that mindset. You're in Kemet, but not of it. And don't forget, in Kemet, as much as Kemet was blessing us and allowing us to have our own, we didn't give up our belief systems. At least not at first. Hear me, beloved, because that's extremely important, that we didn't give up our beliefs. We had our own land. We might have been doing business with Kemet, might have even started allowing persons to be married into us, right? But when you start marrying into them, see, Joseph, somebody married into us. When you start marrying into somebody else, right, not just color, because remember, we look so much alike that persons don't know if Moses is Kemetic or not. Most persons don't know that Joseph is Kemetic or not. And there's hundreds of years in between those two names I just said. So for hundreds of years, we look so much the same that persons, even before we started intermarrying, persons were already having issues telling us apart. This is not the problem with Kemet. It's not the color. The problem with Kemet is our disobedience and striving to do what Yah says. And eventually we start getting into worshiping others more than worshiping Yah. Right? I just want to put that out there because once again, we can become so Eurocentric that now the same way that colorism was used to keep us in line on the plantation, we are now making our own plantation with slave owners that look like us. And since we don't want to admit that that's ever happened or that it's still happening, there are persons who are still enslaving you from the pulpit today, and you have no clue. You just give them whatever. There's still persons enslaving you all the time. And it's interesting because I see persons, they are actually free enough to where they don't have to stay on the plantation, but they'll go back and forth. I see them. You know these persons are using you, manipulating, not worried about you, not sewing into you, could care less about you, could care less about visiting you, calling you, having conversations with others. How you doing, bold servant? Right? And we're missing a lot of what the Most High actually has for us and what He's telling us, what He's been telling us for quite some time. What He's been telling us. We do not want to hear what Yah has for us. But the reality is that you got to recognize who you are. And we're having this thing where just because we're so starved for who we are, still not learning and progressing in who we are. We're so starved for who we are that anything close, we're like, we'll take it. I'll take a piece of that. 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 Constantly and consistently. Like allowing all these other things to come in. Right? Nothing about culture. No, not worried about where something actually came from. Not trying to look into see what did Yah want us to do from the beginning with what He's given us. Not looking to see what have we changed or what did somebody change. No, we keep looking for something else. But I need you to comprehend once again, Israel blessed Kemet. Right? And now we're in Genesis 47. We've been in Genesis 47 focusing this whole time. When we get here, this is where things even begin to move a little bit, right? So we get to a place where Pharaoh has blessed them with a place. Israel blesses Pharaoh, right? And then, matter of fact, let's do a little bit of reading. We're gonna go to Genesis 47, and we'll start. Let's see where are we at. So just remember, we said that you got to have a plan. I want you to catch the plan that Yah had. This is the plan. Pharaoh has blessed Israel. So we're going to pick up the verse 10. Genesis chapter 47, verse 10. Pharaoh has blessed Israel. Everybody ready? Pharaoh has what? Pharaoh has blessed Israel. He's blessed Yehadashah. Israel has been blessed by Pharaoh. So now Israel's returning the favor. Okay? So he's been blessed. They've been blessed by who? By Pharaoh. And now Israel's returning the favor. Okay? Hold on 1 second. Okay, so Israel's returning the favor. All right, let's see this. So Genesis 47, we're going to start at verse 10. And Jacob, who's Israel, blessed Pharaoh, and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren, and gave them a possession in the land of Kemet, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and all his father's house with bread according to their families. All right, I want to just throw this out here too. Joseph did what? Remember, Joseph is a servant. Joseph does what with his family? He nourished his family. He took what he had and he nourished them, the nourishment. Make sure that we're getting that nourishment. Make sure we're getting fed what we actually need, not just something bland. Right? He nourished. That's what it says, right? He nourished his family. Praise God. So he nourishes his family. Give me 1 second, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. So he nourishes his family. And so he's feeding his family, right? But watch this, verse 13. Right? So he nourishes his family, he nourishes his family members' families, he's nourishing all of Israel. Watch this though, in verse 13. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Kemet, the land of Mizraim, the land of Egypt, and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. So they've been removed from Canaan. They have a separate place from Egypt. And Joseph has made sure that his family is being nourished. Right? But I want you to peep game. Watch this. When you bless the children of Israel, this is what happened. The plan keeps going. The vision keeps going. You ready? Verse 14. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Kemet, and in the land of Canaan, for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So basically, remember, during the times of many, right, of overflow, they were supposed to bring a double tithe into the storehouse, 1/5 of everything belonged to Pharaoh, right? Then it says after that, the famine started, and so persons began to pay so that they would have food. As they ran out of food, they began to pay. So now it's gotten to the place where not only in all of Kemet, but all of Canaan, nobody has food. Right? So watch this. Watch this. This is the plan that Yah has. And when money failed in the land of Kemet and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. Now I need you to catch this, because remember I told you money is not real? Now we're going to start getting to the nitty gritty and what we need to start recognizing as a people when we come together. This money and all the stuff you're chasing is not even close to being real, beloved. Not even close. Right? At the end of the day, persons are going to start telling you what's real. Right? See, this is why everybody's worried about this Epstein stuff now, because see them babies' lives that were messed over? People say that's real. Right? It has been real, but you see that your government hasn't cared about anything about it since y'all first heard about it in 2008. Right? Stuff that's real. You sitting up there talking about this, that, whatever, you starting to realize we don't eat real food anymore. It's hard to get healthy. Who can really, truly get healthy and live long lives when nobody eats actual food anymore? Right? You're starting to have some actual conversation because you're realizing that, food is actually real. Remember we talked about this. Joseph was made second in command to the point to where not just only decisions that had to do with the food, anything, it says in your Bible that anytime somebody lifted up their hands or lifted up their foot and put them down somewhere, that Joseph basically had to okay it. In other words, if one who's controlling the stuff that's real, right, it controls everything else. And see, in your mind, you've been looking to make sure that you can now be on social media, but somebody else controls that. Right? I'm on social media now, and I'm thankful for it. That being said, I comprehend at any point when they dislike what I'm saying, what I'm teaching, what I'm giving out, etc., it will become very difficult to get this word out. Right? Right? Just keep it in the buck, because I know it doesn't belong to me. And who is it for? Who is in charge of it? The same persons who would deny our freedom, the same persons who make it hard to find out who we are, the same persons that are for war, etc. They control everything that's going on. Right? How you doing, guess who? Thanks for being part of the community. So I don't depend on the person, right? It's like, for real. See, once you know how the system works, you start realizing just because somebody looks like you doesn't mean you support them automatically, right? Snoop Dogg, everybody's like, we can't tell what side he's on. That Snoop has been about the money from the beginning. Snoop told you that he loved Pop And at the same time, Pac and Snoop didn't like each other when Pac died. He's told you that Nas and Pac had this weird interaction, and Nas has told you that's a lie, right? He's out here telling you, he's for black folk, and he says anybody that's for Trump is da whatever, and then later on he's, even though it wasn't technically that, but that being said, he got paid by people who were pro-Trump just a few years later, right? Didn't even take 10, didn't even take 5. A few years later, oh yeah, if y'all are with him, whatever, right? But everybody's surprised. Everybody, look, Snoop has said some crazy stuff, been part of some crazy stuff, and yet he hasn't done like prison time like that. You don't think that possibly, allegedly, I'm alleging, but allegedly, or others have alleged. It's true, others have alleged, and I've learned about it through them, so I can't say I've seen this from personal. But that being said, allegedly, this man is out here saying all types of stuff. You don't think that you don't make the connection because hey, he looks like us, or because he's hip hop, or because blah blah. No, this man is saying stuff against you in your community all the time too. He is. This man is not for you. This man is not for Kendrick Lamar. This man is not for Drake. This man is not. This man is for him, right? He'll defend Martha Stewart before he defends his people. I'm not saying he can't defend Martha. I'm just saying Martha Stewart ain't for us either. Just because she tell you how to make a nice, to have some nice scones or something on the side of a nice setup that you can get from a Dollar Tree, doesn't mean that she's somebody that we should be listening to, right? But that's what we've gotten into. We've listened to all these heroes that they put in front of us. I need you to see this in Genesis 47 once again. It tells us, watch this, and they brought their cattle. I'm sorry. They said our money failed. Our money failed. Money's not real. But we need a blessing. And Joseph said, now watch this. This is when, and I still deal with this too. We start thinking it's not okay to ask what we're worth. Watch this. This is what Yah says about his people. This is what Yah says about when we bless somebody or we bless somebody else, right? This is what we're supposed to do. Watch this. Joseph said, Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. He says, okay, what we're using is money or whatever, right? It don't matter. Because gold and silver and all this stuff, it don't even matter right now. Because guess what? Nobody's eating. If nobody's eating, who cares about money? And we're getting close to this, because the reason why I'm carrying this dad bod now, and the reason why a lot of us, what is actually happening, is that we're starving. The reason I'm trying to go through this improvement now and get my workout and stuff and do some different things now and stuff that's been done to my body over years, and I'm still recovering for decades of damage, not knowing what's going on, right? And then just not wanting to be obedient to what I should eat on top of that. If we just be honest about it, it's because your body's actually starving. Right? Do you not know that your cells don't get what they need? Do you not know that one of the reasons why your body builds up the fat that it does is because it's trying to get something, to save something, store something it doesn't think it's going to get again? Do you not realize that many of you, the reason why you're having issues with your acid levels, your acid reflux and stuff, is not, a lot of times, a lot of you think it's just because you have too much acid, sometimes because your acid level is too low. Your cells cannot take water. That's why you drink water, and then because your cells can't actually hold on to stuff, as soon as you drink it, it just goes straight to your system. Some of you are drinking 2 gallons of water a day and are maybe consuming a quart, if that, right? Because your body just immediately gets rid of it. Right? Your body's not even taking it. Matter of fact, what is water? See, a lot of us were taught that water is just simply H2O. But H2O, if you were to drink it in times before we had all this pollution, if I were to go to a spring and drink some water, it also comes with a lot of nutrients. So when I drank water, I actually was eating, because I was getting a lot of stuff out of the water. I was getting a lot of chlorophyll, a lot of chloroplast. I was getting a lot of, even different animals that might live through the water and stuff and do things or whatever. I'm getting a piece of all these different things that were coming in. Nowadays, we don't have these things. Nowadays, we're missing a lot of these items or whatever. So a lot of us who have our guts and stuff like that, we're actually starving because we're missing things that our body needs to eat. We have all these other fake things inside of us that just take residence, right? And our bodies to try to even protect themselves, try to add on all this fat. But the reality is that really we're starving a lot of things that we should just have in our regular diet. So this is how important it is. Joseph, when he was given command of the food, he was given command that he had to be second in command of all of Kemet, because food, the things of nature, is actually what drives your society. How you doing, Dr. Houston? Right? They drive your society. I don't care about all this other stuff that everybody talking about, right? If everybody in America couldn't eat, who cares how much the dollar is worth? Matter of fact, that's why they got us on such a thing now. They got us eating so much fake food, right? That makes you euphoric, but it doesn't make you healthy. Right? And if we can't learn how to eat real food, we're not going to be able to learn how to eat real spiritual food. But we learn how to eat stuff that makes us euphoric. Eat things that makes your brain molecules explode and makes you high. But you don't eat things that actually make you feel great, make you feel clear-minded, right? Like Brother Joseph, one of the things that or Brother Jacob, excuse me, one of the things that he's dealing with the with drinking, for those who want to do goat milk and stuff. He said there's a lot of stuff in goat milk because goat milk actually helps, especially with brain fog and depression. Right? It's been proven to reverse the effects of these things. A lot of persons don't even think, man, if you're drinking milk, just drink a different type of milk. Right? And you can just do it medicinally. You don't have to make this for the rest of your life, but if you have these issues going on, have this for a little bit in your life, see what happens. You're having issues with your memory and stuff. Go through this stuff a little bit. He said, talk to the camera. I apologize. I'm talking to multiple cameras, but thank you for being on. All right, so thank you everybody who's coming from the podcast, those coming from IG, those who are with us on Clapper, coming from the Clapper post and are with us live. Thank you to those that are on YouTube. Thank you for those that are on Facebook. Thank you for those that are on TikTok. Appreciate you. Thank you for letting me know. Right? So, and all the different things that are going on, I want you guys to recognize and realize that the reality is, and how you doing, Pearl? Thank you all for the love. The reality is that Joseph has been given a plan. So now, hey, our money fails. So what happens? Okay, well, fine. Give your cattle instead of the money. Why? Because cattle is food. And everybody's saying, but they don't have food, they don't have grain. Hey, will you give up this? So we have grain, give us cattle. Now, wait a minute, we have cattle. But the cattle might run out anyways after we eat the cattle. We see. So now, the people who have the grain have what's real, right? Everybody was given the money for what was real. They saved up food. During the times when everybody else was just spending, Joseph was on some, we need to get food. You hear what I'm saying? We need to get something that's real, right? We need to really get something that's real. When we get something that's real, then we can start having conversation about the other stuff. So he says, first things first, let's get this money, let's get this food together, right? And so they made sure they had that tax, right? 2/10, 1/5 of everything that was there. They had that. They were stacking up. Everybody was making plenty. Then all of a sudden, some persons who weren't disciplined, now they don't have. So guess what? You got to come to us. You come to see us, and when you come to see us, what do we do with that? Right? When you come to see us, oh, no problem. I try to do different stuff. I'm not as big on Clapper with the live sessions or whatever, at least not as we used to be. So I got to build that back up. But I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for being on all the platforms. So as we're now dealing with this, right? I need you to catch this. Hear this. Hear this. Now, all of a sudden, here they're coming with what? Here they're coming with what? They're coming with all this stuff like, now, I should have been saving up. I should have been giving. I should have been being given to the storehouse or whatever. Okay, well, guess what? Now, I've run out and made sure that I had stuff put away for myself. I need what you have. And so money doesn't even get me anything anymore. I can't buy food anywhere. What can I give you? Money doesn't even matter anymore. He says, give me your cattle. So now since they've saved what's real, now you're starting to go into the bounty. Now you're starting to go into the abundance. Now it's not just food, even though Pharaoh's house would have had cattle and stuff too, but now all the cattle's being given. Right? Let's keep on going now. Verse 17. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. So he gave them he took care of them for a whole year because they had given cattle. So they've already given money in the past. Right now they have anything that's considered to be money. Money doesn't even matter, but they got a whole bunch of it. Cool. And a lot of persons who are rich today are like this. They have all the money, but money ain't even real. Right? Like your working for them is more than money. A lot of you don't know this, right? Like your working for the government is worth more than money. What you think, right? You don't recognize it. Like, okay, if you made $40,000, that's nice. Jeff Bezos can tell 40,000 persons to work for him. What do you think is more important, $40,000 or 40,000 persons? Jeff Bezos has it set up now to where persons are starting to work for Amazon. And as they work for Amazon, hear what I'm saying? As they work for Amazon, he's building Amazon cities. So now he'll pay those persons just enough that they can pay him to just live where he is and barely make enough food off of the places he'll have, or surrounding his cities, or down if they do a whole like skyscraper type thing and just have everybody shop down at the bottom. So now everything that you're doing, yeah, you're giving away your energy, you're giving away a lot of stuff, right? But the stuff that matters, he's keeping. You think that the money, he can care less if he sees the money. You think that Jeff Bezos stops and says, hey, make sure that you give the pilot $50,000 in cash? No. He doesn't carry cash. Cash isn't real. Cash is a weird phenomenon that a lot of persons are still trying to hold on to, and it's not getting us anywhere. You hear what I'm saying, beloved? That's why we got to get back to Barashayat. In the beginning, what was our culture about? We understood. So that year was ended, right? And they had given up all the cattle now. The horses, cattle, donkeys, etc. They're giving it up. Sheep. So now when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our lands. Wherefore, because of that, shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh. And give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So they said, hey, we've given you all of our money, we've given you our animals. The only thing that now we have is nothing but ourselves and our cattle. They say, we need to eat. Just take us. Be under, or let us be under you. Let us be under Pharaoh, and we'll give Pharaoh everything. Now watch this. So watch this, verse 20. And Joseph bought all the land of Kemet for Pharaoh. And the persons who were Kemetic, or the Egyptians, sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Kemet, even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priest bought he not, for the priest had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh. Just like with us, the priests basically, they are supposed to be for the people and their spirituality. So he respected that, and he didn't take priest land. Okay? And did not eat the portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. Now watch this, verse 23. Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. La, or lo, not like what you think, but pay attention. Seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the fifth part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for the food of your little ones. Verse 25, and they said, thou hast saved our lives. Let us find or grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Kemet unto this day, that Pharaoh should have a fifth part. Should have what? A fifth part. should have what? 2/10, a fifth part, except the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's. Okay, so everybody, right? And I'm sorry, let me make this last distinction too, verse 27. And Israel dwelt in the land of Kemet, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein and grew and multiplied exceedingly. I want you to catch all that, because what this is telling us is vital, right? Kemet, because they had a mindset of money and all that stuff and just doing whatever and living it up and all these things that we look back at now and we go, oh man, they were just so this, so that, but they weren't thinking about saving food and stuff like that. So they didn't have anything when the lean times happened. When you don't have anything when the lean times happen, children of Israel, when you don't have anything for yourself, when you're not growing any food, when you're not putting anything into the storehouse, what's going to happen? Okay, praying for your granddaughter. She's in NICU. Oh, okay. Newborn baby granddaughter. Okay. All right. Sorry to hear about that, but congratulations. Of course. I'm on. We're on it. So when we're looking at these things and we're praying for this stuff, I need you guys to catch this, that a lot of us have not recognized, number one, when Yah gives us the dream and he allows us to interpret it, he's not giving us interpretation, as we said before, earlier in the series. We're not getting interpretation just because. We're getting proper interpretation due to the fact that there's a plan. For every vision, there's provision. Right? There's a reason why Yah is telling you to do it this way or that way. 100%. There's a reason why the Most High is telling us we should do it like this or like that, period. And we should do it the way he says. And it comes with a plan. All this was done, I need you to recognize this. Remember, Joseph tells his family, tell them who you are. Tell them that we're shepherds. As shepherds, you mean land, and also Kemetic persons, they're not into shepherds. They're not into persons who are over the flocks. So the persons who are over the flocks are nothing anyways. If you're just shepherds, Pharaoh will look out for you, and he'll give you land. He gives them land that's amazing land, that's better than anything else. They're already growing, and he's already nourishing them. He's already giving them seed. He's giving them animals, all types of stuff. Then you got to recognize during this season, right, of not having, of lacking, you have to recognize that during this season that's going on, not only is it that Israel was going through, but Kemet was going through, all the land of Kemet and all the land of Canaan. If you're talking about all the land of Kemet as well, this probably means that it's gone down a little bit into Cush as well. But all these places, right, around this vast place of wealth, everybody has a whole bunch of stuff. They have a whole bunch of money, but they have no food, right? So eventually they give up all the money for what? For the food. Everybody has a whole bunch. I need somebody to catch this. Everybody's walking around. They got a whole bunch in this time period. Not only do they have a bunch of food, they have a bunch of stuff. They got a bunch of gold. They have a bunch of things that they can wear, but it doesn't matter because nobody cares about it. They have access to all this land. They said, we'll give you the land. They have access to their own selves. They said, we'll give up ourselves because we don't have. And when you are somebody that doesn't have, you'll give up a lot. You'll give up your money when you don't have, because you need to be fed. You need to be nourished. It says Joseph nourished his family. He made sure they were nourished. He made sure he took care of what was Pharaoh's. He made sure he took care of the people overall. But also, too, during this time, Joseph made sure that he was going to take care of himself and his family. He was going to make sure he took care of Pharaoh because Pharaoh was his responsibility, and Pharaoh's the one that put him in place, and Pharaoh's the one who trusted the gift that was in him. But he's making sure he's taking care of family, and he's making sure he's dealing with food, something that's the most tangible, something that's running all these other things that's going to happen. It's more important than money to have food. And then those who don't have money now, they're willing to give up other things. Now we'll give up cattle. Well, cattle could be food as well, but also too, you got to have land, you got to have stuff growing to feed your cattle. They don't even have that. That's why they give the cattle up. Then they say, hey, we need seed. So not only that, but he was saving up not just the grain of corn and stuff like that it said was so much that he had to tell people stop trying to count it, right? But also Joseph's saving seed. He's saving something, watch this, that even during the times of lack, you're still still supposed to try your best, if you can, to put something into the ground. Even though there's very little rain, every once in a while, if you can find water to bring or whatever to try and take care of your crops, right? Because remember, in Kemet, they did have stuff where they had irrigation and stuff to a certain level, but their rain levels are low, which means that their water levels are not as high. But that being said, they said at least we can put some seed in the ground. You know, even during wintertime, there's certain things that you're supposed to plant to make sure that your ground is still, you know, being used. This is where stuff like, even though we're not supposed to eat it as much as people do now, persons do now, but like stuff like soy. Soy is designed to be able to grow during the winter. It was specifically designed to also rip up all types of stuff out the ground and soak it up into the roots. And then they get rid of the soy and they plant other stuff come spring. Now persons just eat it because they're trying to make money off of whatever. But I'm just saying all this to tell you that the food is what you need. The nourishment, the things that nourish us are what we need. Even when you receive the word of Yah, that's nourishment. A lot of persons are trying to get all this other stuff. You need something that nourishes your soul. You need something that like causes you to live again. You need something that causes dry bones to live. He says that there's got to be nourishment in your life, right? And so these persons say, hey, we need seed. So he was profound enough not just to think about we need food, we need seed. By the way, the word for word in Hebrew, zara, is also the word for sperm, and it's also the same word for seed. When I speak a word, I speak a seed that should germinate the ground, that should germinate the ground of your heart, that should germinate the spiritual womb and cause some kind of growth to happen. For something to begin to happen in your life that's growing, something that should cause growing pains that grows inside of you. It's difficult to sleep on it, but you know something's growing on the inside. You said, yes, soybean planting can indirectly contribute to watering the ground. That too, right? So you hear what I'm saying? All these different things that were going on. And we have all these different persons from all over the place telling us all these different things about what's happening. And once again, that's why you have to make sure that you are the keepers of your own faith, guarding what it is that you believe, guarding what it is that you report. Who shall believe what you report? You have all this in there where you're saving up something, where you're saving up seed, where you're saving up a word. Right? Watch this. So now everybody's willing to give whatever it takes because they comprehend that without this word, they will wither away and die. Without this word, they can wither away and die. Do you hear what I'm saying, beloved? Without this word in them, they can wither away and die. Without this word, they can wither away and die. And so, without us even having food, we're finding that our people are now withering away and die. Right? Without real food, we swear it's real until we realize it's not. We swear we can't grow this stuff until we realize, actually, you know what, if we just left some pineapples growing out of pineapples, we take it, you know, we don't even have to watch that. If we just let onions go ahead and be in some water, you know, onion grass comes up, we don't even have to worry about that. We don't have to worry, like, it's not even that difficult. Right on our window, right over our sinks, right over our, you know, right in our windowsills, right on our balconies if we have those, you know, right outside. We can put something together easy. We can put something together easy. There are places where nobody's manicured a lawn for 50 years. You can go there with 2 boxes and put them in the sun, and nobody would even know the difference. And you can take care of your community. Right? Come on, without the word, without this word, even one might wither away and die. So he now has it to where people are willing to trade. And they say, buy us. They say, buy our land. And I want to give something that's really profound here at the end. They buy. So Pharaoh basically ends up owning everything and everything on the land, meaning that he owns the people. But now that he owns the people say we buy into what you do, or the people have sold out to Pharaoh. Now Pharaoh is responsible, or sold out even to Joseph, which really means in a sense they've sold out to Elohim, because Elohim is the one who's given Joseph the plan. But now that all this has happened, now Joseph, right, says that we are responsible for feeding those that are completely sold out. How you doing, Brother Kofi? How you doing, Heart Songs? Does that make sense? I know we've gone a whole bunch of ways and this is twisted a little bit. Prayerfully this is making sense here at the end. Right? We're completely sold out. We're completely sold out to you, the king, the Pharaoh, to you, who's second in command, to Joseph, to you, who gave Joseph the plan to Elacham. So now Elacham through Joseph says, well, guess what? Right? If you're sold out to us, then we're responsible for you. How you doing, Brother Keith? You hear what I'm saying? If we're sold out to you, then who's gonna take care of us? We gave you all of our money is in your hand. This is how kingdoms work. This is why you got to make sure you're in lockstep with righteous kings. You guys will keep talking about all these kings or whatever. No, be a righteous king or be under the righteous king and let him be the one who's over you as a king. Right? Malachi at Malachi or Malachi at Malachi. Right? He's the king of kings or the kings of royalty. The king of royalty. So here it is. If I'm under you, right? You could be like, well, bump y'all, I got everything, but that's not what happens. Remember, Pharaoh himself, when he found out there was going to be a famine, he cared about his people, and he said, what do we need to do to make sure they're taken care of, right? And Joseph helped him to take care of his people, right? Joseph is also taking care of Israel simultaneously. They're both taken care of now, not just Kemet, but those who are around the world, right? At least in Kemet, probably more, parts of Cush. We definitely know parts of Canaan. That possibly means that there's Syrians who are dealing with this as well. So there's all this stuff, and he says, well, if you are under me, it's my responsibility to feed you because your land is mine, right? So this is how Kemet becomes what you call a world power now. It's always interesting. They can't really tell you how this stuff happened. They're just like, somehow, some way. But as far as what we know, Kemet, right? You had Pharaoh. But there was a Pharaoh who was in this place, and he was kind of, he had some power, but not as much as he would. And because of this famine, he was now, because he could feed everybody, he now becomes their Lord. This is what persons are doing to us today, by the way. They're messing with you. They mess with your food, and they mess with your information. And so when you're in a position to where nobody can feed themselves unless they have to go by you will easily sell your soul. Because eating, there's only two alternatives if one doesn't eat. Yes, you can fast for a while, but at some point, your body will start to eat itself, and you will get to a point where even if you try to feed your body, it still won't go back to eating real food. It will only eat off of you, right? So there comes a point to where no matter how long you fast, no matter how great you feel like you're at fasting, you will die without food. I know there's persons that say that they have fasted and they were able to survive without the food, or they sun gaze, and look, maybe there's truth to it. I'm just telling you as far as the way your body's designed concerning food. If you don't have food, if you don't have water, it's only a matter of time before you're going to start passing away, and your body will start to eat itself, right? It needs something inside of it to eat off of so it doesn't eat you, right? And so especially with these sinful bodies that we have no excuse, or we have no alternative. We have to eat to stay alive. Now, watch this. So therefore, Pharaoh has been given, Pharaoh has been given all these people under him. His responsibility now is to feed them. Shepherds, your responsibility is to feed the flocks. Right? And watch this. It says the same thing that you were given to Pharaoh in the times of plenty, give it to him now and continue to give him. And Joseph put a law in the book to say that, hey, if you want to have no more lean times, make sure that you give to Pharaoh. You give to leadership. I know persons aren't going to like this, but we are missing a lot of stuff because we don't give. We don't give. Right? In the times of plenty, then when you get to the times of lack, you're like, where's the stuff? You're supposed to give in the times of plenty and the times of lack. And if everything belongs to your king, it's your king. If everything belongs to Pharaoh, it's your Pharaoh. If everything belongs to Joseph, it's your family, who is supposed to make sure that they are taking care of persons and making sure they're giving things and making sure that things are multiplied. Joseph, in all this time, is making sure that Israel in the land of Goshen is flourishing and they are being nourished. Right? When calves and cattle and all this stuff are coming in, do you not think that Joseph's saying, hey, Israel, take some of this. Israel, take some of this. Israel, take some of this. Because even though he is part of Israel, he also comprehends those who bless Israel, his father, will be blessed. So if he wants to be blessed more, even in Pharaoh's house, he's going to bless his house. So you gotta feed the flock. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You're being given stuff, and here's what's happening. In the times of want or the times of lack, you forget that Yah says that we should never want. Yahweh is our shepherd. We shall not want. That means I don't lack. So if I shall not lack, then Yah provides all my needs. So what's more important? Do you need the food, or do you need the atmosphere? Right? When we go to the steakhouse is an amazing atmosphere. But do I need that, or do I need the food? Tada, thank you. Right? Do I need that, or do I need the food? I need the food. Well, they ain't seasoned it, blah, blah. Look. If you grew potatoes and only had potatoes, if you ate the potatoes like you would eat an apple, and I know it'd be horrible for your senses and it'd be too much for you to do, but if you just ate straight potatoes for a week, you would still be straight. I know somebody would say it's too much starch and you can't bend and you can't. I'm telling you right now, if you only had potatoes and you grew that, you would be ahead of the game, because guess what? Even if you just did it for a week, that's a week less of groceries. If you grew corn, if you grew the three sisters, corn, squash, and it is corn, squash, and the beans, is it? And put that around and grew the three sisters up or whatever, you can grow that in an apartment complex. You can grow it right on your balcony. You can make two of them. And you would get to a place to where you wouldn't need groceries. Outside if you wanted to add some meat to it or something, you wouldn't even need groceries for a couple of weeks. Especially if you keep up with the intermittent fasting or eating one time a day, you'd be straight. Right? And then when persons are trying to figure out how are you doing that, once again, right, the suffering of our present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall get be revealed in us. And the creature, those created around us, are waiting for the manifestation of the children of the Most High. When they see certain things start manifesting through our relationship with Yah and being obedient, then they start to ask, how are you doing? You know what? Can I be part of it? Can you show me this? Can we grow stuff together? I'd like to be part of this. Could we turn this into a homestead? Could we do? You'd be surprised how quickly things change when you start realizing that the things that nourish us are the most important. Israel made sure that Kemet was nourished. Israel made sure that Israel was nourished. And because of that, then the whole world had to bow down to what the Most High had in place. Right? The goal for them was set aside 1/5, 2/10 of everything that you have. So that when we have lean times, we're straight. Now, Yah is not even saying that's a demand. That's something that they did. The commandment is, can you give him 10%? Right? And this is what happens. This is what happens. And I know a lot of persons don't like this now, because now, yeah, I am talking about not only your talent, your effort, your energy, but yes, even sometimes what you do financially, what you do with your money. Okay? You ready for this? Yah has us in a position to where he's told you what time you're in. He's told you before it's happening, all these things that are going to happen to us. And rather than worry about what he says, we're worried about all this other stuff, and we're not taking time out to care for our communities. I want to put this out and tell you to be careful. This is a warning, right? Take this however you see it, but it's a warning from Yah. Prayerfully, you'll take heed of it. Okay? Here's a warning. My people, Yahweh Asar, Yahweh says, he states, my people who are called by my name, do not worry about what the heathens do. As we get ready to take our leave today, I got like a little less than 10 minutes. All right? Word of Yah for his people. Do not worry about what the heathens worry about. In other words, did I not tell you, Yahashua, through my son Yahashua, did I not tell you, did I not show you that there will be wars and rumors of wars? Why are you worried about them? Is that the war I told you to focus on? Right? In this period of time that you're in, Israel, did I not tell you that there would be famine? Why are you sitting up there saying that's a sign? I told you that these are not the signs that the end will come. Why are you still telling persons that this famine is a sign the end will come. This is a sign that you should have been ready, that you should have had stuff set aside. Did I not tell you in Matthew 24 that there would be many that would come in my name? Some would even say that they were me. Did I not warn you about that? Thus saith Yahweh. Not thus saith Kofi. I'm talking about on behalf of the Father, right? On assignment today. To remind you, did he not tell us in Matthew 24 that there were going to be earthquakes and there would be floods? And he said, do not allow this to be something that persons start telling you this means the world is ending. I know we want to hear that. I know, because we want retribution so bad. Yah says, if you would preach this word and get this word to all corners of the earth, he said his son is coming back. We already know. We don't know the day or the hour this to happen, but we know what must take place. And it's not earthquakes, and it's not floods. And so as much as, and by the way, look, I'm not even on the level of this guy, so who knows how much this even reached. For those of you this will reach though today, I want to make this perfectly clear. I want to make it perfectly clear to you. You hear what I'm saying? I need you to be perfectly clear. That's why I focus on your work and not the world. Hear me, beloved. You must recognize all these prophets now. See, that's the same thing that happened in Christianity. I don't nobody want to talk about it, but we'll talk about it today. We'll see how I'm feeling. I'm going to take my time. We might have a brief word tomorrow. I'll take Wednesday off again, but we might have a brief word tomorrow since we missed the word on Friday and Sunday. Thank you to Elder Tammy for giving a great word on Saturday, by the way. But I just want to the same thing that happened in the church, and the same thing that y'all, once again, somebody just calling themselves Israel, but they doing the same stuff. Be careful about these persons and these belief systems where they're telling you and I, beloved, just watch out. Where they keep telling you, I told y'all. Now all of a sudden I'm hearing all these persons. I told y'all, I prophesied, and I said, until you let the children of Israel go, there's going to be nothing but floods, and this and that or whatever. Show me the scripture or the verse. It's not in there. It tells you to be careful about persons who come in his name during these times, right? Who find persons, right? Matter of fact, we'll read 1 Timothy chapter 3. We'll go through some of 1 Timothy chapter 3. Well, we don't have time. When you get time, look at 1 Timothy chapter 3. Look at 1 Timothy chapter 3 and see that it says to be careful about these persons who come in these times, and they take captive silly persons, even silly women who are captivated by nonsense, are looking for any kind of leadership, or are tired of being under this curse of Deuteronomy 28 and verses 15 through 68, especially around verse 45 or so, or verse 46, and so they're now listening to these persons who are given a word, who are against what the word of Yah says. Be careful. It says, from such turn away, from such run for the hills. They're high-minded, they're heady. They're telling you all these things. They're lovers of themselves rather than lovers of the Most High Yah. I'm trying to tell you straight up, these persons are coming in here and going against the word. The word tells us specifically that be careful about these cats who are coming in here and who are telling you and I that they are prophesying that it's going to be that the flood is a sign of the end times, when the Messiah says the flood is not a sign of the end times. It says it must happen, but it is the beginning of sorrows. It tells you if you want to be saved, in Matthew 24 verse 13, you must endure and keep up the law during these times. Endure it. And then it says the verse after that, until we preach the proper word of what Yah gives us, the Messiah is not going to return. The sign that the Messiah is returning is the sign that we would tell his truth and get back to the origin of the word and spread it throughout the nations. That's the sign. The sign is not that there's a flood in Texas. Now, we pray for those heavily who are in Texas, right? We're touching and agreeing that those that are in Texas going through are going to be helped out, and that they'll get over what it is. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on with the family, and who knows how much of it is because Texas didn't take care of stuff they were supposed to. I don't know. Right, but we recognize that those families need comfort. However, we're not going to turn that into the end of the world is here, because the Most High told us already through his son, that's not the end. If they asked, remember, they asked Yehoshua, after he says stuff at the beginning of Matthew 24, they say, can you tell us what the end of the world is going to look like? And he says, look, it's not going to be just because people come in my name. It's not going to be just because it's raining. It's not going to be just because there's earthquakes. It's not going to be just because there's wars. It's not just going to be because there's rumors of war. It's not going to be just because there's flooding. He makes it a point to say that. So anybody pointing to that and saying the end of the world is coming because flooding, that's a false preacher. Real talk. It's false. It's a lie. Real talk. It's a lie. It's false. Anybody who's telling us that, the word tells us that they're false. This ain't just Kofi going running off at the mouth and me just being upset. I'm telling you what your word says. You read Matthew 24 and you'll discover that it says don't get caught up on that. And then keep on going into Matthew 25. Those are the 10 wives with oil in their lamps that are supposed to be waiting on the Messiah to come back. 5 of them had oil in their lamp. 5 of them didn't. 5 of them were so into what is everybody else saying that they never made sure that they were recognizing every day how much oil, how much fresh anointing, how much am I prepared for my husband to come back. 5 of them were ready. 5 of them weren't. Some of y'all about to go on this whole thing, just like what happened. What'd you say, Elton Tim? Some say about waters turning red as well. Yeah. And these things could happen. And by the way, the Satan can find ways to make some of this stuff happen too. Knowing that some of y'all will be like, oh yeah, this and that, he'll give you something. You don't think that he's in control over the Roman Catholic Church and over some of these Muslim cats and over some of these Ashkenazi, etc., and all these different persons, some of these Christians who are coming together and trying to build temples in a bull? He knows what time it is. So he goes, oh, okay, they're waiting for a bull. I'll start doing that, and they'll start preaching that this is the end of the world. We already know we're in the last days. Our responsibility in the last days is to make sure that Israel is taken care of, that the remnant can come in, that those who are grafted in are comprehending what's there 100%, that we're still faithful and obedient to the law, and that we're separated. As we said earlier, land of Goshen, land of Kemet. We're still technically in Kemet, but we have the Bible even declares it. There was a land of Kemet, and within the land of Kemet, there was the country of Goshen. That's where we were. Within the land of Kemet, there was another nationality. Read your Bible, it'll bless you. Come on. Right? Within the land of Kemet, within the land of the United States of America, it's okay that there's another country of righteousness instead of this unrighteousness. It's in the land of Kemet. There were people that were multiple people. And they don't want to tell you that. Once again, it doesn't matter where you're from, it matters who you're from and who you are. You can change your nationality today. If you want it, you can go to if you're in the United States of America, you can go to a Ghanaian forgive me, the building that's supposed to be for Ghana and stuff like that, and supposed to be Ghanaian land on America and all that stuff, whatever. You can go into their facility right now and ask for dual citizenship or get citizenship. Right? Thank you, the embassy. I don't know why that word was playing. It was fighting my brain cells. But yeah. But you can become another citizen. But guess what? Choose ye this day who you will serve, because ever who you serve, when you serve them, that's what country you're part of. Yeah, embassy, that's what I was looking for. Right? So choose ye this day who you will serve. What country are you part of? Just because you in Massachusetts doesn't mean you in Massachusetts. That doesn't mean you're of it. Just because you're in Maryland doesn't mean you're of it. Just because you're in Georgia doesn't mean you're of it. Just because you're in Oklahoma doesn't mean you're of it. Just because you're in Oregon doesn't mean you're of it. Just because you're in Italy doesn't mean you're of it. At some point, you got to figure out who you're of. That's your nation. And if you're of that nation, then you got to be obedient, regardless of what they try to do. You got to be obedient, regardless of what they try to do. It's real easy to say obedience is better than sacrifice until somebody says your one sacrifice ain't enough. You got to do this forever. And then you go, well, if I do this every day, I could be put in prison. Yeah. Obedience is better than sacrifice. What you going to do? But it's not better for me if I go to prison. The suffering of this present time, it's not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall be revealed in us. Some of us have been there, done that. Some of us have did prison time and still had to figure out how to be obedient in there, and are now thankful that we went through it, even though we hated the whole experience, but realized that he did some things for us that he couldn't have done, and did some things for others that had we not been there, who knows how he would have had to bring that forth. When you be willing to be a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service, you're able to reason different. And when you're able to reason different, you don't try to conform to the system, but you're transformed to come out of it. That happens because your mind is renewed. If it's new every day, that means it's eternal. You go into the eternal mind because the eternal mind can never get old. The eternal mind has no beginning and has no end because it's eternal. Our problem is that our mindset has a beginning and has an end. You're not getting nourished eternally. The sheep need eternal nourishment. The feed that you're given needs to be eternal nourishment. Whoever you're under is supposed to feed you, as we learned today. Time is up. I'm going a couple minutes over, but thank you all for being on if you got to go. But it's eternal nourishment. It's eternal nourishment. Every day, right? My mind my mind should get nourishment of something that's different. And the one who gave us, right? The one who we have given ourselves to, rather, is the one who deserves praise. He's the one that deserves honor. To him be all glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and forever. He is the one. You hear me, beloved? He's the one. So if he's the one, he's the only one who can nourish. He's given us the vision. He showed us what's going to happen. He showed us that food wasn't going to be around, and now it's not around. He showed us that persons are willing to spend all types of money on food now just to get it, and now they have no food left. The food bill is way worse for some of you than your housing bills now, if you want to eat actual food, right? He showed us the way out. He said, hey, put some stuff aside. The world, they're sitting up there worried. This is their apocalypse. For us, we rejoice because we prepared ourselves. Have you prepared yourself for the end? When the trumpet blows, have you prepared yourself to be in a position to where you can feel and hear the vibrational frequency that will cause others to look up and be afraid, but when it hits your ears, it causes your heart, your passion to beat, to flutter, because you know it's time to go. It's time for my name for me to see that my name is in the scrolls. It's time for me to see that the works that I did allow my name to be in those scrolls. Revelation chapter 20, verse 12. It's time for me to know that those works are because of my faith. Faith without works is nothing. Therefore, works without faith is nothing. Are you prepared for the glory to be revealed in us? Are you prepared that, yes, I'm suffering right now, but that's why I have hope. And hope maketh me not ashamed. I know what it is to have faith because I know what it is to have hope. So when others are ashamed because they say something that doesn't happen like that, I'm not ashamed. I know that what I say today, I've seen it happen too many times. I was saying 20 years ago some of the stuff I'm saying today, and some persons were laughing at me and saying this, and a lot of persons, even within the last 5 years or so of my life, have been totally cool with just getting away from me and saying I'm this and I'm saying that. Now here it is, a whole bunch of them now. Hey, Pastor Kofi, what's up? Sorry, man. How do I get in touch with this? How do I leave this country? How do I make sure? How do I get into the law? And so now they're getting into a place and they like for me to give them shortcuts, and I'll do my best to give it to them. But the reality is I've lived this every day. And so I'm okay, and thank y'all for the love. I'm okay with being the person that a lot of persons on the planet dismiss as nothing. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I know that what they say and what they think about me in their eyes, I'm not worried about it. We're both in Kemet, but I'm in Goshen. They're in Kemet. In Goshen, we're not starving. And even when I go into Kemet, I have access because I made sure that I served well. So I'm second in command, but really I'm running things because of the vessel that I am. It's, somebody has seen the gift that I have and allows it to continue to be stirred up. So when I step into certain situations, I'm not concerned about them like others are. I'm not frustrated about what others are frustrated by. I'm not sitting up here. I understand what's going on with Trump. I understand what's going on with the whole Epstein thing. I understand what's going on. Or I don't understand it. I acknowledge what's going on. I have studied it, right? I comprehend it. That being said, it doesn't run my life. And being a Republican or a Democrat never mattered, not to that level to me. So now that you guys are scrambling or trying to figure out or whatever, it doesn't matter who's been in the president's chair. Right? And by the way, if you know some of the names that are on the list, you know that Obama's name is on there, George W. Bush's name is on there, Donald Trump's name is on there, allegedly. Right? Will Smith's name is on there. Brad Pitt's name is on there. I'm just There's some famous pastors' names are on there. So you get to be in a certain place where you're just like, why am I surprised? Yeah, we got the real thing. We got the like this is stuff nobody's cared about anyway. So why are you giving up so much of your time, talent, effort, or energy to speak up on that level? Some of y'all speaking up on level. That's why I said even like when the Black Lives Matter stuff was going, I told persons I believe I know that Black Lives Matter, but I also know the Black Lives Matter group does not represent our people. And sure enough, once you know people start making the exorbitant amount of money off of it they were making, we ain't seen them. Going back to Kendrick, who I just said be careful about his lyrics, but I give you a Kendrick lyric that a lot of persons forget about, which is him saying some of the stuff that I just said. But listen to some of the stuff, right? He says, "I am the Omega," right? What is it, PG Lane? Something, and don't you address me unless it's with 4 letters. I thought you known better. I've been ducking the pandemic. I've been ducking the social gimmicks. I've been ducking the overnight activists. Yeah, I'm not a trending topic. He said, I've been gone for years, and I wasn't trying to be used by y'all as a trending topic. I came out, I did some things here and there, but I know that y'all ain't serving us. I'll agree with him on that. I don't agree he's the Omega or the Alpha and Omega or that he's the prophet that he thinks he is. But that being said, I mean, I'll give him credit where credit's due. Like, yeah, like I shouldn't be out here getting used to make sure that you get higher. Once again, is what they did with the Negro, going all the way back to the beginning. Same thing. You put them out front. You get them to say that what you're saying is right. You get them to say that your cause is the only cause that matters. And now all of a sudden, you see us falling. You know, you put a couple of us up front as the face, you know, the black face. And then after the stuff falls apart, then we find out, oh, that was the LGBTQ plus movement. It really wasn't about us. Right? The same persons who said get in line with it and Black Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter means we had to say that masculinity is toxic. Oh, come to find out, out of that LGBTQ plus movement called BLM, there were two so-called white gay guys, right? And they were the ones that came up with toxic masculinity. Of course they would. Kind of going along with persons who were into the feminist movement, where you had the feminist mother, if you will, in America, who was working for the CIA and was working with young black girls to start writing books that would cause us to have an informed opinion that we, as black men, were the reason why everything was falling apart. I'm just saying all those things to show and to remind and to tell you that we need to make sure we're in position and that we recognize that there's a lot of persons coming with a lot of foolishness out here. And we need to recognize what Yah has told us, what He's taught us, and what He's shown us. All right, so love y'all to life. As a reminder, we're going to push back the VBS 1 week for health concerns for myself. So I'll make sure, even if I'm doing extra stuff during the week, I promise you, if I need to take a little bit back or whatever, then so be it. But it was brought to my attention, and I actually saw some of it when you finally get to rest. Sometimes you see some things or whatever, and there are some things going on with my body or whatever that are showing that I need to take a little bit more time to relax than what I've been doing. I've been getting better, but I don't want to mess around and move too fast past what y'all has for me because I'm still supposed to be here for a minute, right? So we're gonna take time out to do that and take care of it. So we won't do the VBS this week. Next week, sorry, July 28th. I think it should be July 28th through August 1st. That'll be VBS. If you still like to make sure that you help the children by taking care of a child and what they need. Also, don't forget to we're having different stuff popping up like Feast of Tabernacles and stuff as well. So prayerfully, you guys can join us for all these great things that Yah has moving and has us involved in. We appreciate you so very much for spending some time with us today. Hopefully you got something out of the message. I apologize. I did try to come on yesterday, but we didn't have any signal where I was. So hopefully the ministerial staff was able to do something for prayer. I apologize for not being in front of you for the teaching yesterday. Probably was best anyways because it was anniversary. So anniversary weekend. So it is what it is. It might be y'all just being like, need to close it down and spend some time with your family. But I'm excited about what Yahweh has for us. Hopefully we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you, BG. We appreciate you all. I will I'll say tentatively I'll be on tomorrow, but we will be on this evening, 8 p.m. New York time on Kofi_42 on TikTok, on YouTube as well. And there's a possibility, slight possibility I'll be on besides for Kung Fu, slight possibility I'll be on for a brief message to make up for some of the teaching that we didn't get a chance to do this weekend or these last 3 days. So love y'all to life. You all take care. Or last 2 days out of 3, because Elder Tamara took care of 1. Praise y'all. But we'll probably have something for you guys. Maybe we'll make a little Q&A or something real quick, brief. And if y'all want to come on tomorrow, if I'm able to come on at 8 a.m. New York time, that's what we'll do. Just a brief little Q&A off the dome. We'll see where y'all takes us. And then our real Q&A is coming up on Thursday. We'll have our Hebrew characters. Or well, no. We'll be I forget what we have this week for SOC University, but we'll have some SOC University stuff up for you all. Probably be some sovereignty stuff mixed in with a little bit of cryptocurrency. I'm not sure which one will be which or which days, but we'll probably do a little bit of that, some sovereignty stuff mixed up with a little bit of crypto. And it'll be some new sovereignty stuff for those who are part of SOC University. You'll get some reminders, but also you get some brand new stuff just for you. That also feeds off of one of the last sovereignty things we posted for those in hashtag SOC University on that tier on Patreon. So you should be able to get some of that on there as well. But thank you all. Tada, my King. Thank you, family. Do not forget that we got French going on for the babies now, and Kung Fu for the babies, and Kung Fu for the adults, um, and besides, what? Oh, and Spanish for the babies. I didn't send out the recording yet, but if you have children who've been taking Spanish classes and stuff, you should have seen the little cards that we put out there, virtual cards that you guys have. So hopefully you're able to get into that. Thank you guys so much for being on. We appreciate you. We're gonna go ahead and do our shout out on TikTok. If you're somebody that's used to our shout out, knows how it works, feel free to go ahead and take the lead so others can see how it works. We appreciate you though. Thank you for being on with us. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Alma. And remember, as always, family, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Take care. And please, man, please, sir, look for your Google Calendar invites. Look on your emails for a couple different things, including the schedule, and quite possibly today should have been out already, but quite possibly the schedule or the stuff to fill out for if you're coming to Feast of Tabernacles to spend some time with us this year. All right, love you all to life. You all take care. Shalom, peace, and hair grease.